call?
Yes, please.
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner. By the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 5, 2017. By the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Tri-Town News, Asbury Park Press, and Star Ledger for information and publication on January 5, 2017. By the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 5, 2017. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. The locations are as follows. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to your right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Also, no food or beverage is permitted in this room. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Present.
Mrs. Smith.
Present.
Mr. Walsh. Mr. Nacastro.
Here.
Mayor Berger.
Present. Are there any reasons for us to go into executive session?
There are, Mayor, contract negotiation, Mazer and New Jersey American Water, pending litigation in the matter of the application of the Township of Howell, docket number MON-L-2525-15.
Okay, so then I believe we should go in, the executive session minutes from tonight's meeting can be disclosed to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
Motion to go in executive.
Second.
Okay, hang on 1 second. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of the meeting for purpose of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when a discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session, and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items previously listed, and upon reconvening the public meeting, the presiding officer will announce, if possible, the time when and the circumstance under which a discussion conducted in executive session will be disclosed to the public. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order.
What are we doing?
Ready?
Pledge.
Everybody, please stand.
Pledge allegiance
If you'd please just give 2 minutes for our fallen soldiers and our police officers. Thank you.
Mayor, next item on the agenda is acceptance of minutes from June 13.
If there are no questions or comments, I'll make a motion that the minutes be accepted.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
I didn't review them, I'll abstain.
Mr. Nacastro.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes.
Let's see.
Are there any reports to the township?
I do. There have been 2 additional resolutions that have been placed on the agenda from the preliminary to the final agenda. R-17-267, 9829. Authorized refund of overpayment from the Howell Township EMT Trust Fund, clearing account, $100. R-17-268, 9830. Authorized person-to-person transfer a plenary retail alcoholic beverage distribution license from K Liquors to Rajeeth LLC that will trade as Wino Land at 2402 Route 9 South. And that's the changes to the agenda, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to have hearing of the citizens and public comment at this time. Again, please remember that we are here and we need to be respectful for the people up at the dais and everyone in the audience. So if you have something to say, please come to the mic. Do not call out from the seat. Thank you very much. Michael Butler.
First, thanks for giving me some time to talk tonight.
Your microphone's not on.
At the
There's a
base.
button, oh, there it is. From here, you can see the green. Yep. And please state your name and address, please.
Sure. My name is Michael Butler, Butler. My address is 1142 Oak Road in Howell Township, New Jersey. I'm the attorney for L&L Paving and Greenway Industries, which owns 89 Yellowbrook Road. And my client, L&L Paving, has an application currently pending before the planning board.
We can't hear them.
Do I just hit a button?
No, it seems like when you move it, it's turning off.
Okay.
So if you just move it a little bit, the bottom portion,
I don't know.
it was just green.
Penny, you got the handheld?
Or there, if you sit by the table, you can
Sure.
speak from there as well.
Can you hear me from over there?
This is the last meeting, talking about.
The microphone is built into the little,
Okay. How about now?
Perfect.
Okay. All right, once again, my name is Michael Butler. I represent L&L Paving and Greenway Industries. Greenway owns 89 Yellowbrook Road in Howell, New Jersey. L&L Paving is an applicant. It has a pending application before the planning board for the development of a bituminous concrete manufacturing facility. I'm not here tonight to talk about the application in front of the planning board because this is not the proper forum to do that. The proper forum is before the planning board. This body has no jurisdiction over an application before the planning board. That's okay. How about this?
Why don't you put it on your thing? I'll raise it to you.
All right, can we try now?
Just don't touch it.
I'm not going to touch it. We got it?
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. All right, as I said, I'm not going to talk about the application. It's not the proper forum to do so. I'm here tonight to talk about something that's troubling. And I don't know, but I suspect that everyone up there on the dais received a flyer last week in the mail. I know many members of the public received a flyer in the mail last week from an entity called Preserve Howell. This is troubling, and it's troubling because there are a number of false statements on this flyer that affect my client. Number one, it says that this governing body is going to take some action on my client's application. It's not going to do that. That's not in front of the board. That's not in front of this governing body tonight. You don't have the power to do that. That power rests with the zoning board. Number two, my client's application is for a bituminous concrete manufacturing facility. Sure. Number three. Sorry. Number two, I'll lean down. My client's application is for a bituminous concrete manufacturing facility. Number three, bituminous concrete manufacturing is permitted in the SED zone. Number four, my client's property is not environmentally pristine. This is a site that's been used as an industrial site for the production of concrete since, I believe, for the past 50 or 60 years. And number five, sorry. And number five, that my client is doing something quietly. My client filed an application with the township. It's processing that application as it's supposed to process that application. It's not doing anything nefarious. It's not doing anything underneath the table. It's not doing anything behind closed doors. It's filed its application. It's met with the town's professionals. It's had a public hearing already in front of the Environmental Commission. It has a public hearing coming up, and at that public hearing, we will provide notice as we are supposed to in accordance with the law. Now, when my client got this mailer, it was concerned, and rightfully so, not only because of the statements that are in the mailer, but because it's a member of this community and is concerned with this community. It was concerned that it had upset members of this community. So when we got the flyer, we tried to find out a little bit more about Preserve Howell, because we wanted to reach out to Preserve Howell. We wanted to find out what their issues were so we could talk to them. Unfortunately, on the flyer, there's no email address, there's no telephone number. It leads you to a website. On that website, there's no mailing address, there's no telephone number. Being the modern age, I went to social media, and lo and behold, some members of Howell did some research, and it discovered something that's a little questionable. On the flyer, Howell Preserve has a return mailing address. That mailing address is 620 Tinton Avenue, Tinton Falls, New Jersey. I went to the Tinton Falls tax information sheet to find out who owned the property. It's owned by a direct competitor of my client. A direct competitor who has a pending application before the planning board for a bituminous concrete manufacturing facility on Yellowbrook Road. This is troubling. I'm not asking this board to take any kind of formal action tonight. It's improper for this board, for this governing body to do so. But what I do want is I want to clear the record, and I want to make sure that not only this body, but the public listens to the information that I provided and considers it and is not manipulated by the information that's in this flyer. If anyone has questions regarding the application, if anyone up there has questions regarding the application, if anyone from the public has questions regarding the application, if anyone listening online has any questions regarding the application, they can go to Howell Township Planning Department. The full application is there. We're not hiding anything. They also can call me. My name is Michael Butler. My telephone number is 609-989-5023. I will speak loudly into the telephone so that they can hear me. This is troubling. I don't want to take up a lot of time because I know you have an agenda. And I'm open to any questions that you may have of me. There is one caveat, however. I cannot talk about the application, and I won't talk about the application. Okay. Do you have any questions?
No, I think we all did the same thing you did and came to the same conclusion,
Thank you.
but it's nice for the public to know.
Yeah, and as I said, if anyone from the public has any questions, they can call me. I'll meet with them. I will talk to them. I will show them the application, and we can talk through the merits of the application.
Where is it now? In front of the planning board or zoning board? Where is it?
It's in front of the planning board. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry?
May I approach?
Did you sign the sheet?
I didn't sign it. I just arrived, Howard.
Is there somebody before him?
I just walked in and I started listening to the
There's a whole
comments
list.
of my colleagues.
I'm sorry, but
Are
there's
you
a,
together?
No.
Well, then, I'm afraid we have a lot of people to speak. I believe the sheet is still over there.
I have it, but I could
Oh, you have
pass
it.
it back.
Okay.
Who's
What?
the next person?
Yeah,
We'll just
we're
add your
we're
name
add
to
his
the
name to the
list.
list. Add his name
Okay.
to the list.
You
Your
want
name,
to add to the list? Other people want to sign up? Yeah, I'll get it.
if you please just sign the list,
Want me to sign the list?
please.
Yes. Who was next to speak?
Did you sign the list?
Terry DePrito,
I'm the first guy.
Terry DePietro, am I next?
forgive me, yes.
Okay. What do I have to give you, my name?
Your name and address?
My name is Terry DePietro.
If you'd
659
please
Kitchener Drive,
speak into the
Howell, New
microphone.
Jersey. I couldn't hear him with the mic on, so I figure I'm better with my voice. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right, I'm here tonight to really address the low-income housing and affordable housing in Howell. I think it's a great disservice to the township of Howell in general, and I know there's another way you can fight this. Actually, when I looked up some of the
facts, there are at least 17 areas that you have designated that you could use as low and affordable housing. Unfortunately for us, a lot of the affordable and low-income housing is located right in this area off of Route 9. There's some along Grahamtown Greenville Road. There's a place on Casino Drive. It's extremely upsetting. The total number of units would be 3,700 units. How many people do you think that would be in Howell? What would we do with them? What about the traffic in the streets? What about a safety issue? If you notice the apartments right behind Home Depot, they were just sold. The low-income housing unit, that was just sold. Now, who's going to be moving into those? Are they going to renew leases? What are they going to do? I remember in the early 90s, the police were there every day. And if you read the police blotters and everything else in the news, they were picking up people and arresting them for drug use. What kind of low income housing are we bringing in to the township of Howell?
Ma'am.
What about the traffic situation?
I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're going to have to address the council, so
Okay, but I'm trying to make sure that they do hear me.
they
I'm
can
trying to
hear
do
you.
both. Okay, what about the traffic issues? What about senior citizens who live here, who have paid taxes for many years? They live and they can't afford to pay more taxes. Are you going to pay for the taxes for the kids that live in those low-income housing districts? Are you going to pay for that? Are you going to pay for the books, for the schooling, for the buses? And what about these buildings that are being built? Are they going to pay taxes? Are they going to pay taxes? Why should they get 30 years tax-free? That's absolutely ridiculous. So I'm concerned about the safety of the children. I'm concerned about the safety of the neighborhood. I'm concerned about the fact that the homes that are located near these low-income housing districts are going to be devaluated. And these people have lived there for many years, and they deserve to have the right profit for their home if they decide to sell it. You wouldn't like it, I don't think, if that low-income housing project was built on your block. And that's what I'm here to discuss tonight. I think there's a lot of other things you could do, band together like some of the other townships have done, so this doesn't have to happen. Thank you.
Paul Dorado? I just want to, for the record, we have a full sheet, and so I'm going to...
Mayor, I just want to remind you, you can't give somebody else your time. If you sign up, that's your time. If you don't take it, you can't give it to somebody else.
Okay.
It's
Yes,
right
ma'am.
there, turn. No big deal.
Okay. Barbara Dixell?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Barbara Dixell, 62A Piazza Vittoria, Freehold, New Jersey. The first thing I'm going to ask you to tell you is this afternoon, a letter was delivered to my house by the president of the Villages Association from JCP&L supposedly. No, it's not. It's a letter from a SFE Energy. They're soliciting Energy as the carrier to be the new carrier as of August 15th. We got an emergency call through to Kathy Moyer of JCP&L. No, this is not them. It's on their letterhead. I was able to get a hold of Jim Herman this afternoon. It is probably a scam. Kathy Moyer called me back, and I faxed this to her cell phone. So if anybody in Howell is getting this letter, it's not JCP&L. It's not Howell Township. They have nothing to do with it. You're Tri-Eagle, you guys. So... that's your electric thing, is Tri-Eagle. So, but this SFE has nothing to do with anybody, so if you get this letter, throw it out. Okay, I also have a letter from the Villages Board of Trustees that they asked me to read. And before I do that, I'm going to give Jim Herman a letter Jeff Mayfield a letter from me that I wrote personally to Dairy Queen Ice Cream Corporation. I wrote them a letter asking them to think of coming to Howell. I think there may be still room on the BJ's pad, and Freehold, Carvel and Freehold is closed.
Dairy Queen's right there on 33.
Well, yeah, but they're the only ones, and you've got to drive from here to there.
I've stopped in, I know.
So, they make great ice cream. They do a lot of work with teams and kids in schools. So I sent this letter to the CEO of the company. I'm going to pass this on to you. Please, somebody get on it. Hopefully, they'll come to Howell, and we'll be able to have some decent, nice ice cream. And, anyway, okay, I'm going to read this letter from the village's Board of Trustees that I will also give you. It says, July 18, 2017, the Mayor and Council of Howell Township, Howell Township $750,000 open space grant. With reference to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Preservation Trust Fund grant of $750,000 to Howell Township for the acquisition of open space under the Green Acres program. Please note that the village's development is in need of saving Block 143, Lot 23, and Lot 24 that is located directly in front of the villages on Route 9 North. This property is a Monmouth County and New Jersey DEP state endangered rank 4 property. It is slated to be heard on August 3rd, 2017 at the Planning Board. However, it is in the riparian corridor, is all wetlands, directly runs through the entire property, is directly next to the Manasquan River, our drinking water, with bald eagles and bobcats seen on the property. There is a very large deer herd on the property. The ingress and egress is on Route 9 North in the right lane leading to the village's entrance, and if this property is developed into the 15 stores and 2 fast food restaurants, the dignity and quality of life of 1,000 senior citizen residents of the villages will be destroyed. Please consider this property in your $750,000 open space grant to Howell Township. The villages needs your help. Sincerely, Richard Kleeman, President of the Villages Board of Trustees. And I'll save the rest of my comments for your for the ordinances. And the one thing I will ask you regarding 9A15, if this is LL paving, please take a separate vote and open it to the public if these guys are here talking about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So this is Will and Linda Steffen. If only one of you would come up, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the opportunity to speak.
Your name and address, please.
Will Steffen,
Thank you.
146 Cranberry Road.
Thank
Lived
you.
there 30 years. First, I concur with the young lady that we need more ice cream shops in Howell, because when I want a blizzard, I want it. For the record, I sent an email on Monday to all the members. I don't know if you received it or not, but I'd like to make sure that that is included in the record for this meeting. So I'm going to open it up, see if I can read a little bit from it. It's quite long at times, but I'll see if I can. Okay, so this is with regards to L&L, their application. I know it goes before the planning board, and I'll certainly voice my concerns to the planning board. But I have 5 main issues with L&L siding and asphalt plant on Yellowbrook. One is the increased truck traffic along Cranberry Road. So I've lived there 30 years. Since the traffic light has been put in on Colts Neck Road and 33, where the Quick Check is, Cranberry Road has become an alternate route, especially during the peak AM and PM rush hour. And it is a main truck route now for dump trucks, trucks for L&L and all the other businesses, Esso Brothers, Paving Brothers. So we get a lot of concrete trucks, dump trucks, also at night. especially now that we're in the paving season for resurfacing. And these trucks are going at excessive speed beyond the 45 miles an hour, which is the posted speed limit for that roadway.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But I believe that these comments should go to the planning board,
Yes. Okay,
because we're not voting on that, the planning board votes on that.
okay. So, let
I
me
mean,
ask you this, could you?
We could hear your concern,
Yes.
but we can't vote on what you're discussing.
Understand. Is it possible that you could forward my email to the planning board members? Or do I have to find out who they are and forward that email to them?
Both myself and Deputy Mayor Nacastro are on the planning board, so we will forward it to them.
Okay, great, because I'd like to follow up, and the next hearing that is there, the public hearing, I'd like to attend. May I just finish the 5 points, though, very quickly?
Sure.
So the traffic is a major concern for us because you have pedestrians, cyclists, people that walk their dogs. So eventually, there's going to be an issue on Cranberry Road. Increased noise levels from truck traffic and also the operation of the plant, especially for those neighbors nearby. Of course, the potential for adverse impacts to current air quality from the bituminous asphalt plant. Safety concerns with regards to, again, cyclists, pedestrians. We have a lot of children that take the buses to the school system. So again, all the additional truck traffic on Cranberry Road, especially with the excessive speeds. And then this all adds up to lower quality of life. And my main concern, too, is reduction in property value along Cranberry Road. So those are the 5 main points, so I appreciate it. If you guys can share that email with the rest of the planning board members, and then I'll make sure that I attend that hearing.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Sir,
Thank you
just so
very-
you know, we have
Yes.
some other issues over there on what, with this affordable housing. I mean, I would, Mr. DePietro spoke, I would love to say they'll just go away or just say no, but that doesn't work. I mean, Jackson just settled for 1,000 affordable homes. That was their settlement, over 1,000 affordable homes. We are going to be hit. And to bring up something else, on Yellowbrook, 2 of the people who have signed on about our affordable housing want to build 396 mixed apartments on Yellowbrook Road and 200 townhouses on Yellowbrook Road.
In that SED?
Listen, when we go into builder's remedy lawsuits, into a courtroom, if we don't come up with an affordable housing plan that satisfies our COA limits, okay? We take a chance on losing. We talked about some of these. Right now, we have 19 different sites that have filed about our plan. Not that that will be all. We eliminated a few of them because supposedly no one will vote for them. That leaves us about 12. 9 of them will have to be approved in order for us to meet what we believe will be the low end of our affordable housing obligation from Trenton. There is no just say no, we don't want to build them, there'll be too much traffic. It doesn't work that way. And just so you know, 596 of them are proposed on Yellowbrook Road on the southern part near Cranberry. Okay? So that's what we're up against when we make these affordable housing decisions. It's not, we just don't want to build them anywhere. It's not our decision on how many is our affordable housing allotment. It comes from the state, and we have to make decisions on where they get built or leave it in the courts, where the courts will decide. Elon, which already is approved through a builder's remedy lawsuit, is asking it to be changed so 72 apartments get built on the corner of Yellowbrook and Squonkam. They want their approvals changed. And that was a 7 to 10 year lawsuit that was settled in 2006 from an affordable housing builder remedy lawsuit. So you have potential of over 600 townhomes and condos being built on Yellowbrook Road if we don't come up with a plan that satisfies our COA obligation.
Gotcha. So,
Okay.
so the option is either go with an asphalt plant or go with...
No, that's on top of the asphalt
Oh,
plant.
that's on top of the asphalt plant. Oh, exciting.
That's on top.
That's very exciting.
Well, that's the decisions we're faced
Yeah,
with
no,
up
I
here too,
understand. I
okay?
understand.
I mean, if you think we'd like to make these decisions, I've been adamant that if I had it my way, there'd be no cement factories or asphalt plants in Howell Township.
Understand.
That would be me.
But I appreciate it, and if if I could follow up with the planning board, then I will. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Ann Hatami?
Ann Hatami, 37 Yellowbrook Road. And I guess my comments are just another voice saying the same thing. I mean, I've been on Yellowbrook Road for 43 years. It was mostly rural when we built our home there. And little by little, it's one asphalt company with zillions of trucks after the other. And my part of the road, which is closest to Route 33, was rural. I believe it still is rural zoned. But so there are many families living there, and I guess I just want to say, add my voice again. It sounds like it's hopeless at this point, but my quality of life is important. You cannot sit, my house is actually set back a bit from the road, but you can't sit there in the afternoon near any place near the front of the house after 3 o'clock because the trucks just keep rumbling and the house is shaking. So I just, as I said, add my voice and hope for the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Surash Hatami?
Okay, my name is Siavash Hatami, and I live on a 37 Yellowbrook Road. And I moved on this road on almost 1947. And I started to build a house over there with no traffic, and the place was rural agriculture. And then after a while, some person by name of Shamrock moved in and bought the property and start to build a house, build a building. And according to my knowledge, I came to the board and we asked them how many trucks will go to this building. They said only one a week, no more than that. And after a few months later, we found out this building is sold. So somebody moved in with one truck, 2 trucks, 3 trucks. And they walked over, they ran over my property, across the street from the Shamrock. And I called the police. Hey, this is a township property. It's okay, their truck can go over your property. The hell with me. Okay, thank you. The next, I found that they brought a lumberjack next to my property. I have a pool in my backyard. Every day is loaded with ants, termites. Everything else, I called up the township. For this reason, they said, okay, we cannot do too much about it. They bring a load of township, load of wood chips from the neighborhood with a lot of termites, a lot of ants. You go around that neighborhood of mine, you see on both sides of the street, the tree after tree after tree after tree. They're all dead because of my next door lumberjack. He's a tree serviceman. So anyway, we went along. Then we went farther up, on the towards Route 524, Adelphia Road. Then they brought the concrete, they had the concrete pipes. They built the concrete pipes over there, and they were going at least 1 or 2 or 3 trucks a day, or maybe less. But now you look at it, it's about 30 or 40 or 50 trucks rattling my foundation of my house. Is cracking up. I cannot take this one in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, the truck outfit started moving, and busting my house. And what is that? That's those trucking outfits. They moved in your neighborhood. Okay, fine. Now we are hearing something better than all. Asphalt plants is pulling his head out of the dirt or out of the blanket and trying to add more and more traffic and everything else to that road, plus the noise of the trucks. And they took about 1 foot away from my property on either side of the road to widen up the road for those trucking company. Are they paying for my properties, or am I giving them the free? They come out here, the asphalt plant came over there, and I asked him, why are you taking a foot away from my property? They said, well, we can't do nothing about it. This is a township rule and regulation to widen up the road. This is a rural road, not the highway road, not the construction road.
Mayor, it's been 5 minutes.
Okay. And so anyway, this asphalt plant is another nuisance to our nuisance. And with the traffic going back and forth, what other choice do we have? Do I have to bend down our knees and say thank you very much? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, can we clarify something for tonight? Because I'm sure there are many people that want to speak about this. Tonight's vote is an amendment to a specific zone, the SED zone. This was a recommendation from the planning board during a re-examination of the master plan. Tonight, what the governing body is doing, if they so vote favorably, will be removing this use from the future, asphalt and concrete. That's what this is about. This is not about an application that is already before the planning board. So those concerns that everybody's bringing up about L&L paving, that application is going to have to be heard on its merits at the planning board and passed or denied based on the merits at that hearing. This is strictly to remove any more asphalt and concrete businesses in this special economic development zone based on a recommendation from the planning board re-examination. So I just want to be clear, this is not the venue to oppose an application. That venue will be at the planning board, as the mayor said. I just want to make everybody understand, if we vote favorably on this application, this will prevent any future applications to come before the planning board. They will have the right to go to a land use board, but that's a whole nother story. That will be at the zoning board. So I just want to clarify that that's what this ordinance is for. We are only amending a use in a specific zone, the SED zone, based on a recommendation of the re-examination master plan. And I encourage everyone who either is favorable or opposing an application to come to the planning board, and that's where you raise your concerns. And that's where the merits of an application either gets approved or denied. So, just.
Is it on this?
I don't have my calendar, but
I don't know the day of the planning board.
you could call the planning office, and the secretary will give you the date of that application. I'm not sure what that date is.
But you have to look at the agenda for that. So it might not be at that next meeting. You have to look at the agenda to see when this specific topic will be held.
Right.
I think you just need to recognize, though, that the number of people here,
We do, and that would be recognized at the
Again,
planning board.
because of that nefarious poster, that
Unfortunately, there's business interests of other businesses, and they do what I would consider scrupulous, but that's not our issue. But I do understand that that's what drew most people out today. I just want to clarify what this ordinance does.
We were aggressive about having it removed as a use, but it takes time. It's nothing you can do by snapping your fingers. It has to go through the planning board, they have to review it, they have to go through it all. So now it's going to be removed as a use. But we can't do nothing about the past.
So again, we're not going to be calling out from the audience, please. So if you want to come up and speak, you can put your name on the list, and we will be more than happy to hear you. Thomas, and I'm going to butcher this last name, I'm very sorry. Baehun?
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Council. My name is Thomas J. Bainey,
Bainey, thank you.
the bay in your knee. I'm here about the asphalt plant too, truck traffic, all that stuff. I've lived on Yellowbrook Road now for 56 years. Up by Route 33. I'm about 5 houses in off 33. And I feel for the guy on Cranberry Road, but we got the same thing. And we got hundreds of trucks. I'm literally telling you, hundreds going up and down that road from L&L Company. And the area I live in is residential, 1 acre zoning. We built that house there 50 years ago in the house, and then I rented next door for 6 years. It was all farmland. Most of the land was chicken farms. How it got changed to SED on the other end, I got no idea.
That was back in the 70s.
That was way back then, yeah. Obviously, somebody sitting up there didn't live on that road back then, right?
Nobody owned property, I think.
I did.
If somebody needs to have a conversation, we could please take it outside of the room. Excuse me. I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. I don't know what happened to the farmland, what happened, how the SED got in. You're probably right, it's back in the 70s, and why that happened, I got no idea. Now, they got asphalt plants down there, cement plants, tractor trailers, cement trucks, asphalt trucks going up and down the road all day. And like the gentleman said on Cranberry Road, you can't even sit out in your yard. And like number 37 said on Yellowbrook Road. I had friends over one day. You can't sit out in the yard and talk. The trucks, they're literally going by sometimes 10, 15 trucks in 2 minutes. The traffic backs up from Route 33 past my driveway, and I'm 500 foot off Route 33. You can't even get out on the highway.
So, excuse me, I'm sorry, but as Deputy Mayor Nicastro just stated, these are really important comments for the planning board. When the application comes up, these are the comments that the planning board needs to hear. We're voting to kind of preserve the property. We're not voting, do you know what I'm saying? We're trying to take away the service for future.
Let me ask you something about that. Now, to preserve the property, you're planning on
Could have been the wrong word.
You're putting on 600 homes so they don't build a cement plant? Is
No,
that-
no one said that.
No.
What we are doing tonight is amending a zone for the future,
What are they amending it to?
to not allow asphalt in the SED and concrete in the SED zone.
And
That's what we are doing
And what are
today.
they gonna allow there instead of asphalt?
There are other uses in the SED zone that would be a permitted use in that zone.
Well, I'm almost done. I just want to tell you, the noise, the trucks, the traffic, it's absolutely ridiculous. I know other roads that have businesses on the other end of the road, and they have no truck traffic up the other end of the road. Why is that? Why can't they open up all roads in Howell for truck traffic? Lift the signs.
Excuse me, Mr. Bainey, I'd like to make a point to my fellow council people. This is a prime example, and I see all of you people out there. The SED zones are just plain screwed up life in Howell Township. Way back in the 70s, somebody who sat on the township committee decided that they could squeeze more industrial or commercial if they made a new zone, but they made it lesser, not supposedly, not so impactful as along Route 9, a highway development. This was supposed to be lesser. The original concept of the SED had approximately 5 uses, and they didn't allow for commercial, it didn't allow for anything heavy. But as people came along, they changed it. It was intended to be uses that could coexist with residents and farms. And it has not. It's become a mess, and I'm sorry.
Can I interrupt you? I know how it can go with this. Go a different way. Why can't these companies get together and blaze a trail down along the railroad tracks and come out to 33 by the industrial park, which is only probably a half mile or a mile? Why they gotta run up through the residential areas? I got another one. Why can't they make Yellowbrook Road one way for trucks from Copper Avenue? That'll cut the traffic in half right there. Why can't they lower the speed limit on Yellowbrook Road up by 33? It's 45 miles an hour. They're coming right off the highway, and you know they're running through the gears to get up to 45. Same thing coming from Farmingdale. They go around the bend in the road, they're downshifting, jake braking to go by my house. Something's got to be done. It's ridiculous. There's noise, pollution, safety. Right in my area, there's 8 children that play, go across the road, ride bikes. It's just not right. And I'd say open up all the other roads. That'll take a few trucks off Yellowbrook Road. Maybe, how about the bypass where they got that closed now, 33 bypass? Open that up to Howell Road. That might take a couple more trucks off the road. Some people don't like it, that's too damn bad. Because that's not a safety factor, I'll tell you right now. I delivered Meals on Wheels for 8 years till I got hurt. And there's plenty of roads, just like that bypass going up to Howell Road. I'll give you 2 instances, then I'll be done. Stewart Street out to West Farms Road, same thing, crowning the road. Danella Road out to Oakland Road, same thing, crowning the road. I don't think they had any problems there. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. I'm probably going to destroy this last name as well, I'm sorry. Anatoly Jaroslawski?
You did better on the last than you did on the first.
Forgive me.
That's quite all right. Thank you very much. How are you? Sir, I'm sorry, Mr. Walsh. I need to get some clarification.
Give your
I'm
name and
sorry.
address, please.
Yes, my name is Anatoly Jaroslawski, 6 Fox Hill Drive, Howell, New Jersey, and I'm here to talk about the Block 135, Lot 26. Is that okay? Okay. Sir, you made a couple of statements, and I need to get some clarification before I ask some questions. The point was made that the township has to comply and make certain spaces available to comply with Trenton's requirement that certain number of low-income housing is made available. Is that correct?
Correct answer.
Okay, so now, does that requirement supersede the zoning regulations of a township?
Yes.
Yes. Our zoning in our town has 0 jurisdiction if the state comes by and says, our allotment's 700 for round 3 of affordable housing. Our
So-
zoning means nothing.
So that means zoning which was established to protect the citizens and to create a safe and peaceful environment are basically declared null and void?
Correct.
Oh, well, then there's hardly much to say here then, is there?
Well, no, there is a lot to say. We have some real hard decisions on where do we change the zoning to allow high-density building to occur, or do we leave it at the mercy of the courts?
Well,
They'll turn around and smack us with 8, 10, 11 different developments in different parts.
Right, but that's a broader question. Right now, I'm here to talk about Block 135, Lot 26. You're talking about the broad problem that you're faced as a board, and I understand that. But my interest right now is limited to this very narrow issue. So am I to understand that there were no traffic density studies done regarding this new development?
I'm sorry, what
Yeah,
location
no,
are you speaking
yeah,
of?
I truthfully do not know.
Right here,
This, West Farms Road, this is the
Yeah,
Walton Street.
I mean, we have
That's
some
vetted
other
at
ones
the
right
plan.
there on the northern dead end of Turnpike Road. they're asking for 404 to be built.
Excuse me, I'm here to talk about 135, Lot 26. That's the notification that I received. If you have other issues, then that may be well and good, but that's not what I'm here to talk about.
Okay.
Okay?
So, I'm sorry.
It's
But-
fine, then.
I just,
I'm fine.
you have anything else?
Actually, I've been told that this should be done under the public comment section for the ordinance itself, if you want to comment on the ordinance.
Well, I'm asking a general question. Whatever
Okay.
comments I have don't matter if I'm told it doesn't count, right? So if you're telling me that these questions about what are the result of a traffic density study, I've been here before, and this was an issue that had to be addressed when there were other projects being considered for building. They had to be...
That's at the planning board.
Excuse me?
That's at the planning board
So
here.
then what does this, what are we here
This is
for today?
This is just,
For which one? For this?
Yes.
Or whether or not we approve the zoning?
Yes, and I'm here to ask, were these things done?
Those things are all on the planning board, sir. Or they're on the, if somebody tries to get a variance, it's on the zoning board. It's, we decide whether or not we're gonna change the zoning. All the particulars about the projects are between the planning board. That's who they go before.
So what are your views on what's going
When
on?
it comes up, we're gonna discuss it.
When is that gonna be?
I don't know.
Today?
9:30, 10,
This evening.
10:30?
Okay, then I do have... Yeah, I know. Okay. Look, if the issues of the planning board are not what are being addressed here, then my questions aren't relevant. But I do feel that, and I understand that the township is always on the lookout for new sources of revenue, and everyone here understands what the impact of that is. We all are interested in our tax bill, we're all interested in our quality of life. What I don't understand is with that kind of pressure that the township is under and that everyone sitting in this room is under, how could something go forward with a developer where they're gonna get, I understand, 30 years of tax-free treatment? How could that be?
That's not true.
That's not what is true then.
It's called a payment in lieu of taxes. They pay taxes.
Explain that to me then, please.
It's complicated, and I will explain it to you, and I will explain it to you during the ordinance hearing.
Okay.
So, what I would suggest is that you reserve your time with the mayor, that when the ordinance is open for discussion, that's when you come back up.
Okay, well then, what would have been helpful, forgive me, is when the meeting started, if there was some announcement made that this is what we're gonna talk about, and then we're gonna talk about
I
something
agree.
else.
Don't
Because you
yell.
have people
Please
coming
don't
up
yell.
here.
Don't yell.
I'm not yelling, I'm talking.
That's his Brooklyn accent. We know each other.
Sorry.
Listen, you're right. It should have been explained that the ordinances are for public hearings. So we're explaining it to you now. I apologize. I apologize for the mayor. So,
Yeah, there should be some organization so people know why they're talking. And what you're expecting to hear, so the comments could be more poignant. And instead of standing here talking and you're saying this is not what we're here to talk about,
well taken.
Well, then that should be put up front. All right, everybody is testing me this evening. Ron Jazarowski? Jazarowski. Sorry.
He's out.
What? Oh. Okay.
He's outside. He's not going to make a comment.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Scott Ortega?
Scott Ortega, 23 Bernard Drive, Howell. If I heard correctly, and the issue of the affordable housing is not being addressed at this time, then I have nothing to say at the moment, but is it going to be addressed later in the evening?
Yes,
Okay, will I be able to have a turn to speak at that time?
absolutely.
Okay, well then, I give up my turn at this time.
I'll ask.
Thank you very
back
much.
up. David Schultz?
It's gonna be a long night.
I didn't eat dinner.
Me neither.
Good evening, Dave Schultz, 149 Yellowbrook Road. My question is pretty simple. If we're going to get rid of asphalt and concrete production in the SED zone, where will we be permitted to make a new proposal for concrete or asphalt production within the township of Howell?
I
Do you
can't
want me to
answer that
I
question.
can answer that. There are already existing plans, as you know.
We be able to make a new proposal?
Can't tell you that. You have to go to the zoning board.
It will not be permitted
you would-
use. If
you would have
somebody
to go
wants
to
to
the
apply
zoning
for a
board.
variance, they can.
So within the township of Howell, concrete and asphalt production will not be included in any zoning area
As a permitted use, correct.
as a permitted use?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. There are resolutions. Wanna-
Not me. I'm just a passerby tonight.
Is that the end of the list?
That is the end of the list
Okay.
for this portion of the,
Mayor, ask if anybody else in the audience wants to
yes,
speak.
please.
I saw there.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jamie Farrell. I live in 592 Casino Drive. I got two questions. The first one is, we're talking about more than 3,300 or 3,700 apartments.
Excuse me?
I'm talking about, I don't know if this one doesn't work. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. We're talking about more than 3,000 apartments.
Not
that-
necessarily apartments,
well, that-
units.
Unit that has been proposed. So that's more than, if you have 2 or 3 people per unit, that's more than 9,000 people. So we're talking about at least 6,000 cars. So with that amount of cars and that amount of people, we're gonna need more resources for our police. Now, my question is to Mr. Nicastro. In the last meeting, you didn't wanna give a police car for $40,000, but you're willing to pay $30,000 for the stop signs. Why you gonna explain that to the people?
What do you want me to explain?
That $30,000 in signs that doesn't help, like the ones that are in Lakewood, that doesn't help at all. But you don't want to give a car to
Are you a
one-
traffic expert?
No, but
Okay,
listen,
so
we have
don't-
one of the most.
Are you a traffic expert?
Yeah, like you are.
No, but I have professionals that tell me.
Yeah, so tell me, you're gonna have more than 9,000 people on the roads. And you don't want to put another car.
That's,
Explain
I'm
that.
sorry.
To me, doesn't make any sense.
You're not accurate.
he doesn't know.
You're not accurate.
Pauline, your microphone's not working.
Sir?
The vote for police vehicles was approved for the
Deputy
request.
Mayor, It's not a Q&A.
Look, we
He
have.
wants to be silly, so I want to give him the answers.
No, you're the silly. We have one of the best police departments.
Absolutely.
And they have plenty of cars.
To give a car to the police.
Not true. Look at my
You
vote.
You say that. You
Not
say
my
that.
vote.
You say, I don't give you
I
10
question
cars,
I
give you-"
question
Hey, wait, so-
on behalf, I question a cost of a car. I didn't question the amount of
You
cars.
said, I want to pay $42,000 for a car. That's what you said. It's on a public record.
Okay.
But you're willing to pay $30,000 in a stop sign.
What's your question?
Explain that. Why?
I explained it to you.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Well, then you can see me after the meeting.
Please.
It's the same thing like on Casino Drive. You're willing to put for my neighbor. It's been 3 years that he hasn't been able to use his backyard because he had 5 inches of soil on the wetlands, on 5 inches. Now, you're gonna build 400 apartments, they're gonna go over the wetlands, and that's okay. I don't understand the logic.
That's not
of-
okay, and that's not gonna happen. We're not gonna let that
Well,
happen.
that's what is proposed, you know?
That's
Thank
what is
you.
asked for.
Yeah.
You're correct about that. And if we don't come up with an affordable housing plan that's acceptable,
You'd
then
abso-
we
you'd ab-
will lose one lawsuit
Yes,
after the next.
Now,
in the courts.
now, let me ask you something. I didn't propose, I informed you about the group homes, that they gave you 2 credits per bed. That's, no, yes,
Hold
I did.
on.
Yes, I did.
It's 1
Hold
credit per
on.
bed.
That's not totally
It's
accurate.
1 credit per bed.
All right, so each house is at least 5 credits, because you're gonna have 5 people per house, minimum. So it's one roof that you have 5 credits. You don't have to, it's existing homes.
So it's
So
not
my
quite-
question is,
So it's not quite that simple.
Yeah, that's true. But you don't know yet how many credits we're gonna need.
Sir, we know what was talked about, and the end number will be between 600 and 1,000.
All right, 600 and 1,000. That's what we're gonna be forced to?
What?
That's what we're gonna be forced to have?
That's going to be our affordable housing
Yeah.
allotment. We don't know what the exact number is. The ruling should come down within the next 60 days.
All right.
We have 19 different people have already put in as, I wouldn't call them objectors, would you?
Interested parties.
Interveners.
Interveners. I mean, we have, if the number ends up being 700, let's go near the low end.
All right, so if it's
We're only going to
700,
have about 250 spoken for. We're looking at another, anywhere from 1,600 to 2,500 homes in high-density building in Howell Township.
so my question is, why to rush and changing the zoning in one property, like the one in West Farms, if you don't know yet how many units you're gonna need? Why you don't wait until you have exactly how many units, and then you let the people know, and let come out with a plan, the whole township?
What's a rush?
That's what I'm asking.
But what's a rush?
Come on.
We talked about it for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Is that a rush?
No, but wait until you have the decision.
Okay.
And then listen to the
All right, and if this one goes away, we lose 144 credits. It's 2 for 1. We stand a chance of 720 homes being built
Again,
from
we're
144.
stressing this out.
So do you want 72 to be built or 700?
Well, I want,
Or, no, hold on.
I want
If
to
we
wait
don't-
and see how many we need.
Okay, if we don't rush, okay, according to you, if we don't make the decision tonight and 700 homes get built, are you okay with that answer?
Well, that's what I'm explaining
you
to you.
okay?
You have also the group homes. I know several companies
I
that they
know a
can
lot
come
about
over.
group homes,
All
sir.
right, so why you don't allow them to come over here and
Hold
have
on, we've
houses?
allowed many group homes to come into Howell Township.
I say how many they are. I work with them, so I know what it is. So you need more houses of those, and you have plenty of group.
Sir, my son's in a group home. I know how many were short, okay, and it's okay. And I wish there was another 5,000 to 10,000 in the state of New Jersey, because there's a lot of young people with needs.
Yes.
Okay?
That's absolutely true.
All right, so I know, all right?
So why you don't go towards that area?
We have went some towards that area. We have some other group homes coming in. We've approved some on West Farms Road. We've approved some other for battered young women down.
Wonderful. That's
Okay,
great
we've
news.
done some different things.
So those are actually credits that come.
I know.
The credit that you're gonna have, so you don't have to build that many units.
We
if you
counted
have-
them. We included them.
We
counted
count them. You don't, look,
I know it's hard.
It's okay.
That's a hard decision, but you have to understand.
somebody's gonna have to make a call.
Yeah, yeah.
All right? Me personally, there's only one decision I will tell you I will definitively not make. I will not leave us if I have any say at the mercy of the courts. Because I know what the courts will do. They'll do things like Yellowbrook Road. They'll do things like Adelphia Greens, where the judge said that the recreation portion was an attention basin. When there's no water, they can play soccer in it. They'll do things like the ones by 195 at Squawkum, where you can't even get a fire truck in there. Okay, they were all court mandated. More of that will happen in Howell Township. So that's the only thing I will guarantee you I will do, is I will do everything within my power, if I am still here, not to leave us at the mercy of the courts with 2,000 to 2,500 different low, high-density, smaller homes being built.
All right,
That
so-
I will not do.
So what you're telling us tonight is that you're gonna build the 700 or whatever but we will not have all those 3,000 units that they're proposed, that they're gonna destroy our school system.
Listen, I'm not telling you anything other than the one we're voting on tonight, there's 72 units that we get 144 credits because they're all affordable. We get 2 for 1 because they're all affordable. We get 2 for 1. So it's 144 credits. If we have to build, with all these that are recommended to us, all of these interveners, we'll call them, at a 4 for 1 ratio, we'd have to build 720 to equal that 144. Okay? That's what we're up against tonight. Okay, and we're not rushing. It's not a rush. This has been going on for a while. And I would vote for this, just so you know, if it was a half mile from my house. Because it's the best thing for the Township of Howell, in my belief, overall. I gotta take in the whole Township of Howell when I make a decision. So let's not go not in my backyard. I've asked the engineer to dust off the sewer things for Fairfield Road, to put some on Fairfield Road, because we're gonna get stuck with a lot of them.
I'm sorry. What I'm talking tonight is, I pay the taxes I have a wonderful school system. I love it. That's the reason that I moved back to Howell. I lived in Howell many years ago. I went away and I came back because of the school system. It's one of the best, and I love it. And I don't mind to pay taxes for that. Whatever it is, I don't care. They even just went up. You know, the budget went up, and we have to pay for that. But who's going to pay for those units?
Mayor, it's been over 5 minutes.
That's my question. Who's going to pay for those units?
Is there anybody else that wants to come up for public comment on the consent agenda items? You have to, if you want to say something, please come up to the microphone.
My name's Bill Stanton, 289 Friendship Road in Howell. I'll keep this brief, as I'm not super versed, as a lot of other people in here are, to affordable housing. Quick question, though. I know, doing a little research, I believe they're called RCAs, where they were repealed in 2008. There was a bill put forth, I believe, by Senator Singer, that has not been addressed in the Senate, where it would reconstitute the RCAs, where you could redistribute
Right.
in your housing region. Has anybody thought about reaching out, seeing why it hasn't been addressed?
Our affordable housing attorney's here, and yes, we've asked them that question.
Okay, I
Okay.
just figured I'd raise that point.
And we wish it was possible. I was on the governing body in 2005, when we had half of our allotment, not half, we had a good portion sold to Lakewood when Governor Corzine stopped it being allowable, and it was gonna cost us about $8 to $10 million. We were paying $40,000 in RCA to Lakewood. We were gonna give them $8 to $10 million.
Yeah, I
We
greatly
did sell
appreciate
some of ours
clarification.
to Asbury back then, and to Neptune, but they're not here right now.
Yeah, no, I know, like I said, I know there was a bill presented, I believe by Singer, to bring it back, and I know it hasn't been addressed yet in the Senate. I was just curious if there was any possibility of that coming to fruition again in the near future, to help maybe the township out if we could use it.
We wish they were, and it was, part of the reason was is some of the efforts by this governing body, the Senator Singer, to ask if he had reintroduced it and see where it would go, but
Well, I appreciate your guys'
We're
time.
watching it closely.
Thank you very much, guys, have a great night.
Thank you. I'm going to close this portion and go on to the resolutions.
I'd like 9A6 voted on separately, please.
I make a motion then for 9A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9A7, 8, 9A9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
230.
Is 15 in or out, folks? That's the performance guarantee.
That's it.
15 in, 15
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Motions.
9A6, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Did you want a separate discussion? Or you just want the separate vote?
I wanted, it isn't what I voted for in the budget. I said I would only vote in favor of a one-year contribution and let next year, worry about next year, but suddenly it's 150,000 instead of 100, and it's for 3 years, and I'm not going to vote for that, so I'll vote against that. I don't.
Just so you know, there's some other issues going on too. They're having a hard time finding people that want to be special threes. They want to have the law changed so special twos could be special threes also.
What's the difference?
Special twos are not allowed to be special threes right now.
What's the difference between 2 and 3?
Like special twos, a lot of part-timers down the shore. We have a lot of special twos in Howell also. But like a lot of part-time summer people down the shore, police officers are special twos. They're not full-time. Special
I think
twos are
it's a
not
matter of-
allowed to be special threes.
Education and,
So, which would be great. The special twos down the shore are already trained. With the way the law is written now, they can't work in the school system from September to June. So they're looking to change the law, okay? Because kind of no one thought of it in Trenton, shocking. But, kind of makes no sense at all that trained people aren't allowed when they're not working to be special threes. Okay?
Thank you.
So I make a motion to approve it.
Deputy Mayor Nacastro seconded. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
no,
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
On to ordinances.
No, motion 9B1 and 9B2. 9B1 is secondhand dealer, new license, and 9B2 is accept resignation from a mobile home rent board member. And you also have one application that you could fill the spot should you so wish.
Who do we have that wants to take that spot?
Gabriella Gugliotta Combs, she's also on the Community Alliance.
I make a motion that we approve 9B1 and appoint Gabriella to 9B2. Accept the resignation.
Okay.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
yes,
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
No, we gotta read it first.
yep.
So we read each one?
Sorry.
No. You're gonna read the ordinances first.
Give it to the mayor.
Statement read by Matt.
Here.
This is ordinance 0-17-11, 10.1. Ordinance number 0-17-11, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/13/17 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/17/17 is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188 Land Use to add Section 188-86.4 entitled Reserve Mount Laurel District 2, RMLD-2, of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I would like to open up this portion.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Barbara Dixell, 62A Piazza Vittoria, Freehold, New Jersey.
Good evening.
Good evening. With reference to ordinance number 0-17-11-10.1, Mount Laurel Affordable Housing. I have a question to ask. Will veterans' preferences for housing as per the ordinance the council voted on and passed about 1 year ago be part of the 72 apartments on West Farms Road? Do I remember that correctly? I think that was said then.
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, not everyone is happy with the new COA rules, and a lot of people feel not in my backyard. But the New Jersey Supreme Court is now in charge of COA, and it is now an actual mandate from the Supreme Court of the state of New Jersey that every town, township, and municipality in the state of New Jersey must offer affordable housing to people or risk builder's remedy, where any builder can go before the Supreme Court and ask the court to allow them to build anything, anywhere they want to, and it will be granted by the court. If a town or municipality refuses to accept the number of affordable housing units, the Supreme Court says that your town or municipality must build. With reference to ordinance 0-17-11-10.1 and the ordinances following that will be voted on tonight, Howell Township has been working very hard with their own co-attorney, our attorney, the council, CME, and local builders to identify areas in Howell suited for additional housing where some units will be market rate housing and part affordable housing, and some will be all affordable housing. Nobody, and not even Howell Township, wants to get hit with builder's remedy for not being in compliance with the New Jersey Supreme Court. So even though some people feel not in my backyard, accept it, everybody, we have no choice. It's the law. Mayor Berger, even though on June 13th you voted no when ordinance 0-17-11-10.1 was introduced, and you voted no, and you voted yes when the ordinance and all other ordinances were brought before the Howell Township Planning Board for them to vote on as being in accordance with Howell's master plan. Please note, as the mayor of Howell Township, the mandate on affordable housing handed down by the Supreme Court of the state of New Jersey must be voted on and accepted by all members of the Howell governing body, including yourself. Howell Township and the citizens of Howell cannot be allowed to be put in harm's way with builder's remedy. Thank you, Barbara Dixell.
Anybody else?
Is there anyone else that needs to make a comment on this ordinance?
Oh, because he was awake.
Don Smith, 54 Vanderveer Road. You know, I've said this before, but a vote for this project is called for. If anybody that opposes this site, as it stands right now, is voting for high-density development. It's been explained how many homes or units you would get to get this many points. But one thing that keeps bothering me, I hear people lambasting our governing body. And it's not the governing body's fault. The original Mount Laurel decision specified that it was to be handled by the legislative branch of the government. However, our legislative branch failed to act, so it went to the Supreme Court, the judicial branch. So if you have a problem with COA, take it up with our state legislators, our governor, and not take it out on the people that only have to do as they're directed. They took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the state of New Jersey, along with the federal Constitution. The Supreme Court of New Jersey said that it's constitutional to have the COA housing. Do you want your governing body to violate their own oath? I don't believe they would feel comfortable doing it. Go after the legislators. That's where the problem lies. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Is there anybody else that would like to comment on this ordinance?
I'm Charlene Stibe. I live at 814 West Farms Road. Can everybody hear me? Yes. Okay. I'm looking at ordinance 1712. My problem with this ordinance is looking at the proposed sites for additional affordable housing within a 5 to 10 mile radius of this West Farms site. There are 6 other proposed areas to develop affordable housing. My fear is all of this, and when you say not in your backyard, I don't mind one being in my backyard, but 6 being in my backyard, I have a problem with that. I mean, that would mean that that West Farms corridor between Casino Drive, West Farms Road, and Sunnyside is going to be high-density traffic, high-density volume of people, and it's already high density. So when you think about this stuff, please keep in mind that there are 6 other sites proposed within that 5 to 10 mile area. Thank you.
6 other sites for 1,565 units.
Right.
Okay, I know, yeah.
I'm just worried about not just this site, but all the other sites in the
I
long West
understand.
Farms Road.
Well, within a mile and a half of this site, 6 other sites are
Right.
interveners.
Right,
for
so please keep that in
1,565
mind when
units.
you're developing the plan for affordable housing. Thank you.
Please.
How you doing? Rick Rossi, 62 Arrowwood Court, 200 feet from your plan that you would have approved right now. I'm disappointed in you, Mayor. You ran on the platform. You weren't going to turn Howell into Lakewood. That's exactly what you're doing. All right? That's exactly what you're doing.
I'm sorry.
The attorney, let me ask you something. How does Colts Neck fight it? How does Rumson fight it? How does Westfield fight it?
There is.
I'm actually the engineer, and there's the attorney, so you can direct it to him. When I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express last night.
All those Colts Neck is before the court on their affordable housing
Right.
plan. Towns like Rumson actually have some affordable housing, but towns that are not like this numbers here, but there's something called towns like on the beach, like Spring Lake, are built out, so they get the COA regulations allow for adjustments because there's no developable land.
Why
Their
can't we get those
obligation-
adjustments?
What?
How come Homedale, there's plenty of land there too. How come they're not fighting it? I mean,
They are.
getting forced it.
They are.
I haven't read about that
Homedale's
one.
obligation will be at least 300-400 units. Homedale.
Homedale is a lot smaller than we
A
are.
lot smaller. And
Homedale is a lot
half the
smaller
town
than
has no
we are.
sewer.
Come on.
Colts Neck has an obligation.
We don't have the people fighting like they have fighting for us.
Colts
That's
Neck
what I
has
can
to meet with us, okay, about a piece of land on the Colts Neck Howell border. They would like to fill some of their obligation.
Of course, it's always on the border. Always on the border. All right, like I said, my house is for sale, and you guys are interested.
What I have to say to that, good.
Please.
Scott Ortega, 23 Bernard Drive. I've been living here for 17 years, and this is the 3rd time, if I remember correctly, the issue of affordable housing has come up that hasn't been addressed in Howell previously because of, I believe the last time it was going to be in an area that was zoned wetlands, and it wasn't known at the time that it was approved, and then it was found out that it was going to be in a footprint of partially in the wetlands, so they disapproved it and put it off until now. This has been going on for a long period of time, and unfortunately, we are finding out that this is something that this town is going to have to do anyway because of the laws that have been set down by the state. What I'm trying to find out is, with the affordable housing, what part of this affordable housing is going to be subsidized that the people of this town are going to have to subsidize in the taxes that we're going to have to pay? Is there going to be a portion of this affordable housing that is going to be subsidized by the outside entities, so to speak, by the government, by welfare? Is it going to be Section 8 housing? Is that part of affordable housing?
No.
That would, okay. Now, when affordable housing is the use of the term affordable housing, what is affordable housing in Howell Township? Can someone explain that? Because I'm not aware.
There's a chart. It depends on how much you earn, how many people are in your family, and if you fit within that chart. And I don't remember exactly what it is, but I can tell you straight on, all our lives, my husband and I don't make enough money to apply for affordable housing. We have to pay for our own.
Okay.
There is, just generally, it's a range, but generally, if you're a moderate income household, which is part of affordable housing, you could, in Monmouth County, in this region, you can earn up to $70,000, $80,000 and be qualified for moderate housing. And low-income housing, as defined by COA, is in the range of about $50,000 annual a year.
To give you an example, okay, I was on the governing body when we approved, is that Veranda? Verdana, next to Wawa.
Yes.
Okay, and in there is 64 affordable units. They probably, depending on income brackets, I think there's 64 out of 260, that's about, that's a close number. I mean, I'm not looking at it now, but they're anywhere, depending on their income brackets, they're probably paying 50% to 70% of what full rents are in those affordable units. Now, you don't know which ones are affordable or which ones are not, okay?
Right.
All right, and that's done by lists that go through outside administrators. You don't get to pick who you're gonna put in those units. That's not how it works, okay? So, that's just an example, okay? In the brand-new development that was just built, the $1 million homes on Fairfield Road, the affordable units were built across the street. Those 6 little ranches there are the affordable portion of their, okay? So, there has been a lot of affordables built in the last 10 to 12 years.
Affordable to whom?
Who moves into them, we don't know. We have zero say over that. We were just trying to address some of the number that was going to occur in round 3.
Okay.
In Equestria, there's 3 units in the front, 24 unit, okay, 370, so 72 affordable senior units are in the front of Equestria.
Okay.
So when people say there have been none built and none included, that's not true. But people want to say what they want to make it sound good.
Of course.
And there's a round 3 that none of us knew what the number was going to be, okay? We didn't know. But as building has been going on in Howell Township over the last 10, 12 years, there's been affordable components to, I believe, everything that has been approved, okay? But this,
I'm sorry, please don't yell from the audience. I've asked. I will have you escorted out.
Now, when, again, the question that I'm presenting here is, when the use of that term affordable housing, affordable to whom? To whomever would be able to move into Howell and pay the prices that you would pay for, if you were renting in Howell. There are no rentable units in Howell to begin with, really, to speak of, but if there are, well, there's not very many.
Can I give you a reality?
Yes.
32 units were just built on White Cough Road,
Okay.
Akabi, right next to the villages and in my backyard.
Okay.
Out of those 32 units, okay, there's a pilot. And by the way, no one, and I was on the governing body, came out and opposed that project with a pilot, okay? Of the 32 people there, some are disabled. I personally received phone calls from a teacher asking for help to get in there. I could tell you I know of employees of the town that live in affordable housing. I know of police officers who are just starting their careers in affordable housing. And probably my kids will be eligible for affordable housing, coming out of college with a 4-year degree, entering the market making $50,000. So that's who affordable housing is for in the state of New Jersey.
Okay.
So I understand
That's reasonable. That's only reasonable. Everyone has to start
Well,
somewhere.
then I'm glad I gave you a reasonable answer.
Thank you. Now, is that going to impact the tax bracket that the people of Howell are going to be paying because of it being, is there any subsidy to these affordable housing that is attached to this
Not from the town.
mandated? Okay.
Not for the town.
Then it's not going to have an impact adversely to the people of Howell.
As more people come into Howell, like anything else, there'll be more police officers.
Of course.
There'll be more teachers. We probably have capacity in the schools, 12 to 1,500 more kids.
Right.
When I first was on the governing body, a report was given to the governing body back in 2005 saying Howell would have 70,000 people by the year 2025. We still have 53.
I remember you being here, yes, for a
We're
while.
in 2017. In 2005, we were given a report. That's why I'm not going to say anything too good or bad about studies. Studies are only as good as the people that write them and who they're writing them for.
Exactly.
Okay?
Who's paying them?
All right? So we were supposed to have 70,000 people in Howell Township by 2025, and we have the same number right now that we had 13 years ago when I got here. Families are being smaller. There's not 3, 4 kids to a family. A lot of people, some people are staying single. Some people are getting married, not having kids. The world's changing a little bit, I think we all know. So,
And those same demographic reports that Councilman Walsh has said that there would be an increase in students into Howell Township. Today, we're 600 below students. So just keep that in mind. So as to his point, these studies are not always viable or correct.
Oh, in the 17 years I've lived here, I understand that, definitely. Altogether, my big concern was, I just was diagnosed with cancer for the second time in 10 years. And I'm living on a fixed income, and so is my wife. So my wife and I, so now, I don't want my tax bracket going so far that I can't afford to live in my house any longer. I have 2 more years on my mortgage, and what's almost 3, 2.5. And I'm looking forward to that, but I'm looking forward to staying in my home.
it's not going to fly through the roof. We have a 2% cap right now. If the new governor comes in and lifts that cap, all bets are off.
Of course.
Okay?
Of course.
All bets are off, so what do you want me to say? And there's a lot of people that hope a new government comes in and lifts those caps.
Everybody deserves to have affordable housing. I mean, we all started someplace, but again, the thing that I was most concerned with was that it was going to impact adversely our tax structure in the town. And if it was going to, how would there be a way to offset that to all of us concerned that live here, that have to share in that burden? But if there's no added burden, what is the excitement about?
There'll always be a little bit of an added burden. I mean,
Always, of course. That's cost of living increase and things of that nature. The way the economy goes, of course.
You know, you seem reasonable. I mean, why don't you let me retire and why don't you sit up here?
Listen, you don't want me to sit there. Trust me, I'm too radical. I am, because...
They say I'm radical too.
I've been here, the last time I was here, I spoke with you, and I directed my question to you, and that was about the cost of paving in the town. Now, that was the previous mayor, and unfortunately, nothing has occurred as far as paving. My street is down to to the aggregate, you can't walk on my street. But, you know, I understand that there
Now,
are
that
other
is his
things that need to
department.
be
That's
addressed.
Mr. Herman's department. Ask him.
Yeah, get him, Mr. Hearn, right there. The one in the blue tie.
You know, and I asked the
That looks like an attorney. Get him. Get him.
The funny thing is, I asked the
You want a cell number?
I said, Mayor, sir, was your street paved recently? And it just so happened
No.
that it
No, it
wasn't.
hasn't been.
Right. And,
But it's only 19 years old, so I can't.
well, my street is 37 years old, and it still hasn't been
Yeah,
done.
it's
But
only 19
listen,
years
as long as everything else is okay, I'm fine with it. Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
God bless you. Pray for yourself.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
There's a line over here if you want to, please. Who's next?
Alderado, 27 Firestone Drive.
It went off again.
He moved it. You can't
Yeah,
move
stop,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, I can tell.
I should know, I've been up there so
Yeah, I can tell.
On the back, on the bottom.
That better?
Yeah, you can hear it.
Okay.
Get your hands off.
You don't have to hold it.
I'm serious.
Okay, I'm good. I have a question about the pilot. Deputy Mayor Nicastro said it was complicated, so I don't want to take too much time, but what is the revenue difference between what the pilot program would bring in for taxes as opposed to what the regular rate would be if it was taxed as a normal development?
Paul, I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I think you've been here long enough to have heard that the portion of the taxes that goes to the municipality would be higher than the regular tax rate. Now, it is true that the rates are negotiated, but there is a limit. It's all based on financing from the loans, from the banks.
Right.
With the developer. It is true that the taxes do not go to the school and some other taxing entities. The governing body has a right, if they so choose, to share in those revenues, but the revenue is to offset the cost that the affordable housing puts on the municipality. Now, the pilot is not something that the governing body wants to do, okay? This is all done through statute. This is all done through financing. You know, as you know, affordable housing is an inherent beneficial use, so that's why the legislators and the courts allow a pilot. Now, I understand. Listen, you've been here a long time. We went from all different aspects of why this West Farms was no project, and you were part of the leaders. I get it, okay? So you went from one direction to another direction, now you're in the pilots. I don't remember ever seeing you here for the Akabi or any other pilot, and I understand. Believe me, I understand why you're here now.
Well, full disclosure, yes, I
get it.
live
I
by
get it.
there,
You
but,
get it. I
but,
understand.
but why give the pilot then? Because it just benefits the builders.
Because it's required by law. If we do not give a pilot, there is other obligations that would be much more costly to the township and the taxpayers, which, by the way, I'm a taxpayer.
Right.
It would be much more costly. The contribution the township would have to give the developer, which is typically land or a high percent of the funding to do affordable housing. The return on the investment, in my opinion, does not outweigh giving the pilot. All the arguments that you have made and others have made about school children do not hold up because our enrollment is down.
Here's what holds up, though, not to interrupt you. The property values from that particular area are going to go down.
That's
And
not true. That's not true.
It's already happened.
Paul,
It's already happened.
I live in a development.
I've already
that
talked to
has
realtors.
Well, let me tell you something.
Go back and forth.
Okay, that was my.
You talk
Go
to a
ahead.
realtor, bring facts, because I'm going to tell you the facts. The facts are my property value did not go down. It actually went up. And I have affordable housing right behind my detention basin. So until you show me that property values go down with affordable housing, I'll have that conversation with you.
Come to Tuscana and sit down at a board meeting anytime.
You could come to my house and I'll show you my tax bill.
When do you want me to come over?
Whenever you want.
Okay, I'll come tomorrow.
Give me a call. You'll see me after.
I'll email you.
I'll be golfing.
Thank you.
But, I mean, so you have, I understand the complications, but you have a lower property value, and we're going to have to pay the taxes for the schools because there's going to be about 70 kids that come out of that. That's four classrooms.
Where are you getting your numbers from?
72 houses,
Where-
4 people to it.
Where are you getting your numbers from? Are you a planner?
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
So as a
I'm planning on paying more taxes.
As a
That's what
planner-
I'm planning for.
As a planner-
That's what I'm planning
As
for.
a planner, you should know that it's all based on bedrooms, and none of what you're saying has held.
Man,
So
is
am
what
I.
yeah, okay, but, so loss of revenue, we're not taking that to any account at all. There's a tremendous amount of lost revenue coming in there.
I think out of Verdana, out of 264 units, I believe there's 72 school-age children in Verdana. 72 out of 264. So that's one child for every 3.5 units.
That's 4 classrooms, but they're not a pilot. So there's no taxes coming from the West Farm developments to help with those classrooms. So that means everybody here's got to pay. So, I mean, and I get, it's a complicated, I don't envy anybody there, and I'm not making any accusations, but if you're sitting from our particular position, I mean, it's really looking like that it's favoring the builder over the residents.
Yeah, okay. That's the way that's the way you could, that's the narrative that you can do. Let's do a little facts. Let's do a little facts.
Go ahead.
How many school children is enrollment down in the Howell K through 8?
I don't know.
I do.
Okay.
It's over 600. Have your taxes gone down with a decrease in enrollment in school?
No.
Okay. Is there still room to add 30 children that this development may?
No, it's more than 30.
Well, Councilman Walsh just gave you...
Come on. Come on.
But I'm telling you the real
Councilman
number.
Walsh just gave you statistics.
By the time you figure out the number, it's going to be too late.
No, I'm telling you it's the real number. I'm not saying.
Okay.
Look, yeah, I don't know what it will be. I'm just telling you the real number of Verdana, that's all.
Okay.
That's all.
32 units on a copy is producing 6.
Okay. But that's a mixed thing. It's not 100%
A
pilot.
copy is.
32 all affordable units, yes it is.
Just double that because there's 72 here, and that's what you're telling me it's
I'm
going to be?
not telling you anything. I'm not telling you anything. I'm just giving you facts. You're the one that threw out 70 children.
That's just the information that I've seen.
I haven't seen that same information.
When,
Records that you can get. I mean, you get public information. That's not that hard to do.
well,
Well, then check the numbers. Check
you
how many
just
there
get
are in
into
Verdana.
sites.
You'll find out. I mean, it's okay.
I think it's, he's had his time.
Paul, is there any else that you wanted to comment?
No, that's it.
Email me for a cup of coffee. I'll show you the numbers.
Where you want to go for coffee? Wawa or
I
Dunkin'
think you
Donuts? I'll
guys could
treat.
take this after, let's just have that conversation after the meeting, after the vote.
No,
Please.
I don't think so. You better not like them.
Thank you. I've learned quite a bit today. Anatoly Jaroslawski.
Oh, I'm sorry.
6 Fox
Thank
Hill
you.
Drive. Deputy Mayor, you did say that you were going to explain or try to explain something about the pilot. I've learned some facts about the pilot, or I think that they are facts, so perhaps you can straighten them out. And then I want to make a statement about taxes. It's my understanding that the way the pilot program works is that the taxes are paid at a rate of 8% of the rent that is charged after deducting subsidies. So therefore, if a rent is $1,000 and there's a subsidy of $700, then the taxes that is paid under the pilot is 8% of $300 or $24. Is that correct?
No.
Okay, then please correct me.
Well, I don't know what subsidy you're referring to. There are no subsidies. This isn't Section 8 housing.
If it was Section 8 housing,
Okay.
you
There
would
are
be
no subsidies.
correct.
So if you pay $800 a month in rent, and
You're
you
paying
multiply
$64
that
a
times
month in tax.
Okay, well,
72
let's-
units, then you take 8% of that. And
Okay,
then that
take
would be the number.
$1,000 with no subsidies.
Right.
8%, that's $80.
Right.
Is that not right? That's $80?
Yes.
Okay, now, I have a tax bill that is due
it's not
on August 1st, but I don't know what to pay, because the township said, don't pay the tax on August 1st, because we don't know what it's gonna be. Now, I had already received a tax bill telling me what my taxes were gonna be for this period, but then I was told, no, that's not correct, it's gonna change. Why is that? Why?
We had to strike the budget.
Pardon me?
And then things have to be done regulatory-wise. We had to strike the budget. Is that correct, Lou?
Correct. The first 2 quarters of any fiscal year are based on half of your previous year's budget, and then once all of the entities, this government, county, fire district, school districts strike their levy, then your finalized bill is made up in the third and the fourth quarter, and then your 2018 preliminary first and second quarter will be half of what your 2017 bill will
I
be.
don't question the methodology, I question the timing. I don't recall being told not to pay my taxes before.
I didn't tell you not to.
Lou, when did the county give the municipality the tax levy and the tax rates?
The township received our certified tax rate certification on July the 6th.
Is that what delayed the tax bills?
The delay in the tax bills came, the state took a little bit of a delay in adopting their budget.
Oh, is that when the governor was on the beach?
Yes, I believe so. But there were adjustments that were made to the school levies that were based on the shifting of state aid. And we were one of, I believe, 22 towns within the county that was not affected by that change. We were given our go-ahead to print the tax bills. I believe it was last Tuesday. They have been printed, they have been stuffed, and I believe they are going to be taken over to the post office tomorrow morning.
And will there be a grace period for the?
Yes, there will be a grace period that will be 25 days after the postmark.
Thank you.
On the bill.
Is that
This gentleman thinks
explanation?
he's already gotten a tax bill he could not have. He hasn't had.
I didn't have it, I didn't say I got one. Originally, we all get our tax bills and it has 4 quarters on it. And that stub included this quarter.
No, it didn't.
Oh, I believe it did.
So
Not
they're
August
just
1st, no.
approximates.
It didn't.
Because we will never know.
It doesn't
We
work
would
that
never
way.
know. No, we would never, ever know.
Your
I mean,
quarters-
what he just explained to you is until we get the state budget, how would we know what to put as the exact number?
Well, I'm being told that getting this pilot program, which is 8%, is a greater benefit to the township than the other cost, which would be to rate these at a full town, but pay the builder whatever you have to give them.
Because it's our municipal budget, it's our municipal budget. That 8% comes to the municipality. Your tax bill, more than 3/4 of it goes to other entities. We only collect it.
Okay.
We only get 17% of your whole tax bill right now.
Okay, but I'm going back to the statement. The statement was made that the collection of the taxes under COA, this 8%, is a better and a higher number than what the cost would be to the township to assist the builder.
No.
Well, then
That's
explain
not
what you
what
said,
was
because
said.
that's what I
That's
understood
not
you
what
to
was
say.
said.
The amount to be collected,
Yes?
the portion of the municipality in a pilot is typically higher because we get all the funds
Right?
than what the municipality would receive under the conventional way of taxes.
How could that possibly be?
The portion, listen to me clearly, the portion of the municipality taxes, okay, is typically higher than what the portion would be. So McKenna, I believe, was this, do you have the numbers that were?
I don't, I was just looking on my email for them, but I know that if we're getting 8% of whatever the rents are, normally you take your tax bill and we would get, what do you pay a year to, what are your annual taxes?
About 8,000, a little over 8,000.
And then our portion would be 17% of that. Under this program, we get the entire, what they're paying is 8%.
You get 100% of the 8%.
100% of the 8%.
And you're saying 100% of the 8% is more than your 17, whatever you
Yes.
get otherwise? Is that what you're saying?
If the apartments were at full taxation.
Yes.
And are these apartments going to be at full taxation?
Well, there's
Then 8%.
Thank you.
That's,
Is there anybody else that wants to comment on this ordinance? No one coming up? We have to wait for this to.
Gotta read it.
Okay.
Oh.
Let's close, we'll close the public portion of this ordinance. But we have to wait for Mr. Walsh to get back to vote. Let's just go forward.
No, let him in.
Where's the 50 number?
I have a lovely dish of spaghetti waiting for me here.
At least you have that.
Anybody else?
She's paying to...
Where'd Bobby go?
With, of course, go home.
Here,
Spends my
Jim
money well.
found me. Yeah, he has his full taxation. His full taxation is 28,000. This one total, with the, its full taxation, 28,000. I'm just saying, does it say what the? I thought we had that somewhere. Right. I'm looking.
No, you went this way.
Yeah. Times 72 units, so 72,000 a year. 8% of that.
Ken,
Yeah.
Times .08.
don't mind.
Times 12.
Me too. I have to wait till I get home.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
We're getting 50 versus 28 regular tax.
We should answer.
Let's go to
Motion
Russ.
that ordinance number O-17-11 be finally passed and adopted, and that the notice of its passage and adoption be published in the July 21st, oh, my son's birthday, 2017 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
There's been a lot for a long time, back and forth and around. And it's unfortunate that we have to do these things, but this is the best we can do anywhere. I'm sorry for the impact it has. I know myself, I live in the shadow of 4 COA developments where it used to be country. So I know how you all feel. I feel for you and with you. But this is, believe me, this is for the whole township. We are never going again to be able to get double 144 credits for 72 units. It's not going to happen. We have to do this. And as my darling husband said, a vote against this is a vote against Howell. So I have to vote yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
I just want to echo some of the sentiments because I know this project has caused a lot of division in this town, but people, 72 units for 140-foot credits versus 720 units. I could understand people don't want things in their backyard. I could understand people have fears. I think we've taken extraordinary amount of steps to explain things. Some people, after listening, understood. Some people choose not to understand. But we represent the entire town. And no one could convince me that 720 units is better than up to 72 units. Up to 72 units. I can't be convinced of that. So to protect the entire town, I'm voting yes for 72 versus 700.
Mayor Berger?
It seems that I'm the odd vote out. I do believe that we do need to have some building here in Howell. I do not agree with this development. I did not agree when I ran, and I am voting no. And that does not mean that I am against Howell, and I take offense to that.
You okay?
The next ordinance? The next ordinance.
I take offense to that, too.
I'll bite my tongue.
Let's go, 10-2.
I would like to bring ordinance 0-17-12, 10-2. Sorry.
No, she's got her portion to read.
Rezone the portion of Block 135, Lot 26 from Highway Development 1, HD1 to Reserve Mount Laurel District 2. I'd like to open for public comment.
Mayor,
Oh, I have to
you
roll
have a
on.
section to read
Sorry.
first.
You got it? Or
Yeah.
you-
Ordinance number 0-17-12, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/13/17 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/17/17 is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request. I would now like to open.
Title of ordinance.
You ready to read?
Almost, we're getting there. Title of ordinance. An ordinance of the Township of Howell to rezone a portion of Block 135, Lot 26 from Highway Development 1, HD1, to Reserve Mount Laurel District 2, RMLD-2, on the official zoning map of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey. Okay, now you're ready. Open it up to the public.
Let's open this up to the public. Is there no one coming up to speak? Okay.
Tina Smilik, Charles Street in Howell. My question is, other people got the notice for the 200 feet away from West Farms, besides the people around that property? I know people in Moore's Landing got it, people where the new hotel is going got it. Why did all these other people get this letter?
We noticed everybody within the 200 feet of the property being rezoned, and within 200 feet of every property within the SED zone, the ARE, HD1, geez Louise.
Why the whole HD1 area? I mean, are we going to...
Overly cautious.
Oh, so this has a potential of affecting other people
No.
along the
No.
HD1?
No.
I just...
The township was sued once over this ordinance over procedural issues. So to err on the side of caution to avoid a litigation issue, the advice was to notice as many people as possible so that we don't get sued, so to
But if you
alleviate
decide
an
to do
issue.
another property, you will renotice if another property is...
Oh, whatever the land use law requires, of course.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And then, Mayor, we found an email from the tax assessor from 2015 when this was, which indicates that at full taxation, so if there was no pilot, this property in 2015, the 72 units would have paid about $28,541 to Howell, the township share. If it was under a pilot, the 8% pilot, this is an approximation because we don't have the email, but we did the calculation. The township share, the township gets $50,000 to $55,000 through a pilot versus 28 through full taxation. That's what Deputy Mayor Nicastro was pointing out, because the
Okay,
the
now,
township gets the full amount of the pilot and doesn't have to share it with the school board. So that's why there's the numbers are like that.
Thank you for clearing that.
okay, now, if we decided to pay, how much would we have to pay in advance? Because we'd have to pay part of the property, correct, if we did not issue the pilot? I mean, if we decided no pilot, they could still build this, but we would have to pay part of it? Is that...
The state HMFA, Housing Mortgage Finance Agency, which actually finances the bulk of these kinds of projects, requires municipalities, again, as the deputy mayor was pointing out, to provide a pilot. Otherwise, the project doesn't qualify. If the township were to provide money in lieu of a pilot, it would, because you have to do this calculation I just did over 30 years and then do a subsidy based on the shortfall, the number would be probably around at least $1 million.
Okay, but $1 million up front versus 30 years of subsidized taxing, not getting taxed into our schools, which one over 30 years would be more money?
Well, I didn't do that math as I'm sitting here, but
But to make an informed decision, shouldn't this kind of calculation be the calculations that we'd be looking at? I mean, it's
it
nice to
was
say
done at
now,
the
but in
time.
30 years...
It was done at the time that the pilot was approved.
It was done? Can we get those numbers at some times? Can I get those emailed to me?
Yeah. Leaving?
I just want to know what we would, what we get over 30 years compared to what we're getting for a pilot. I want to know the full figures.
Depends what they're worth. Depends on value.
Yes, but we would make more over 30 years on regular taxes versus paying $1 million now and,
Not necessarily.
It depends on value.
okay, but we should be able to do an outlook on that and know the difference and be able to set.
We don't even have enough money in our affordable housing trust fund.
And Tina, as you're aware, in Freehold, I just believe did a pilot at 5%. The difference is it was seniors, but it was required by law that they approve a 5% pilot for affordable housing.
Okay, I don't live in Freehold.
No, but I'm making an
But
example.
thank you. Yeah, but I live in Howell, so I just want to, going forward, I just like to know the facts. I want to know the difference between a 30-year pilot, what we would get in regular taxes by handing out $1 million a head versus, I just want to see the full figures. I mean, is that too much to ask? Is that, obviously you saw this, correct?
I'm sure if you send an Oprah, they'll send you the information.
You need me to send an Oprah?
I'm-
I'm not, can you
I
just
don't have it,
give
so
me
I
the
don't have it in
information?
front of me.
I just want numbers. I want to know one versus the other, and in the long run, is this going to cost us more over 30 years than maybe doing and putting in, putting in a loan for it, getting a bond for it? Give them a bond, and then what would be more beneficial to us as a resident?
How much interest would you pay on a bond in that many years?
How much would you pay on a bond? We're bonding now because we said it's the lowest it's been in how long? Look at all the bonds we're putting out. If it's the lowest now that it's been, wouldn't it make sense if we bonded it for 8 years and we got more money over 30 years?
Is it possible, Lou, to help Tina Smilek tomorrow with some numbers that might be appropriate for her? Something in some figures that may give her a better idea of what it is that she's looking for? Unless you have those numbers available now.
It's all intangibles at the end of the day because you don't know what the value's gonna be.
But basically,
It's just like your house. If your house is worth $500,000 today and your taxes are $13,000 a year, and your house goes down in value to $400,000, okay? Your taxes are gonna go down. There's gonna be reassessments. Like the villages,
have
the
never gone
whole
down.
villages had a tax appeal against us, I think, in 2011.
okay, but the
Or
new every year we're
2010.
getting assessed should stop that, correct?
It's a rolling assessment. It's a rolling assessment.
Okay.
Okay, it's a rolling assessment. It's not a total every year the whole town gets reassessed. Okay? It's a rolling assessment.
Everything else is market value
Okay?
assessed, correct?
But when we were in the recession, like we got hit with tax appeals that we lost, and we had to pay the whole portion of everybody we lost. We had to pay the school portion
I understand
of
that.
all the tax appeals that we lost.
Assessment system corrects that because we no longer have to pay that.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is, it depends on value. No one's gonna be able to give you an exact number.
No, I'm not asking for an exact number. If we're within 500,000, okay, 500,000. If we're like 20 million apart or something, then I'm like, we need to reevaluate this.
We're not 20 million apart on anything.
Making numbers
Yeah, I
up just
know.
like you would do.
Yeah, but 20 million's going a little bit.
Okay, even if
little
it was
over
like
the top.
3 million, losing $2 million over 30 years?
Again, reassess the information at hand, of the credits that you're going to get for that particular development.
Rose project, which would also be 2 for 1, correct?
No.
They want our property, but we don't have to issue a pilot.
They would need a pilot as well.
They would need a pilot plus property?
Any 100% affordable project needs a pilot, and they want us to give them 11 acres that Howell Township owns on Route 9.
This is a policy that's been, this is a policy that comes again from the state, but what the reason that this is a good deal in terms of a pilot at least, is that we were able to negotiate the pilot and we got 8%. Now, as was pointed out, HMFA is requiring towns, because I did this in a project in another town in South Jersey, HMFA is requiring towns to give pilots of 5%, or else they won't give their tax credit financing for the project. So,
Listen, I'm 100% on your side. This is the legislator. The legislator needs to come down and they need to make decisions. I know you're in a predicament. I understand you're in a predicament. I understand I don't like it. It's down the road from me. I understand that things like this are going to happen, and I can understand that. I just want to know in the long run that, from a tax point, that we are going to make more giving a pilot versus making them pay 30 years of taxes by paying them $1 million.
let me
There's
just
no
say
way
that
to make
that $1 million was a total estimate on my part. We'd have to, because that goes back. The number I read you on the taxation was in an email, but I will confirm what the subsidy would be in lieu of the pilot. I don't
And the
know the
8% is
number.
based on rents, too.
Yep.
Where the rents are today aren't where the rents are gonna be 20 years from now. And it's 8% based on the rent.
Okay, but there could be some kind of amortization chart or something that figures that out, correct?
Why? I mean, all it could be is an amortization guess, like our state legislature has done with our pensions.
Can I just get some numbers? That's all I'm asking, to see what the difference is.
I would sit down with Lou and the tax assessor and play around for an hour with the numbers. I understand numbers pretty well. I'm a mortgage banker. I mean, I would, if you would want to sit down sometime Friday. Not tomorrow and Thursday, I'm already booked, but if you wanted to sit down Friday, if we can get a meeting together with the tax assessor, we can try to play around with some numbers and see what we come up with.
I would appreciate that.
We could do that.
You know what? You asked nicely. Okay, I'm in.
Thank you.
I think she's already on the way.
Mayor and Council, Barbara Dixell, the Villages. I have one question. I was given a letter, I don't understand why we got this letter about this development, because the Villages is not 200 feet from the property.
They just said, because it's SED over there, right?
If you were within 200 feet of the HD1 zone, no matter where it is in town, you got the notice.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
That's
because
why.
I did call the clerk's office and
Yeah.
they said that they were advised to send it out, so I'm just curious.
And that's what they girls were advised, to
Okay.
tell you that anyone within 200 feet of an HD1 zone was
Okay.
notified
Okay, no,
throughout the whole
because-
township.
Because I had people giving me this and people calling my house, and I said, okay, I have to ask. All right, thank you. I'll tell them. Thank you very much.
Again, Scott Ortega, Bernard Drive. Please, I'm amiss with this whole thing about the affordable housing and the pilot program, and that there's going to be 72 units developed as opposed to 720. And please let me know if I'm mistaken about this. There's people are upset that there's going to be 72 as opposed to 720?
Yes.
And on what grounds are they upset?
Let's keep
I mean,
this,
for what-
let me try to keep this in perspective for you. And this, I'm glad people were here from the area. Within a mile and a half of this proposed 72-unit development, 1,565 units are proposed from interveners in our affordable housing plan.
Okay, those are rental units that were going to be built?
Hold on. They could be rentals, they could be condos, they could be townhomes. There's a lot of different plans here, okay? A lot of different proposed plans. If we don't come up as a governing body with an affordable housing plan that passed the smell test down in Trenton,
Right.
we will be faced with builders' remedy lawsuits.
Now,
And then the judges will decide. So if this development here on the southeast corner of West Farms and Fort Plains, that's this one, 72.
Right.
Fort Plains Road, just south of Sunnyside, 269 units are proposed. 71 single-family, 144 townhomes, and 54 affordable apartments. That's what's proposed there. Route 9 South, just north of Marco Light Signs at the Jug Handle, in between Marco Light and Home Depot.
Yes.
Okay? We have proposed there 300 units with a community in the clubhouse, 91 bedroom, 210 two-bedroom, and 3-story buildings, 60 affordables. They sound like apartments to me. So different things are proposed from different entities wanting to, that are telling us they want to be included in discussions about our affordable housing. And if we don't come up with a plan suitable to Trenton, some of these will,
We'll get all
if
of
not
them.
all of them, will walk into a judge and say, Howell hasn't met its affordable housing obligation. This is what we want to do.
Oh, you mean, and they'll be able to just to do as they please?
Absolutely.
Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no.
Oh, but if we don't come up with a plan, we will be at the mercy of the courts.
No.
Do you understand that?
Now I do. Yes.
Okay.
I was under the impression, unfortunately, because I was not aware, I didn't have all the information, that the affordable housing was going to be all rental units by developers that would
no.
sell, that would be rentals.
Why would they want to do that when they can make more money off the 250 regular units they can
Anybody
sell?
who can afford to buy a piece of property in Howell
Yeah.
can stand with me and have dinner with me in my yard if they want. If you can afford the taxes I'm paying, then so be it. That's okay. That's fine. But, I mean, that's kind of ridiculous not to think that you would rather have 720 forced on you than 72 that you agree upon. I agree with it. Thank you. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
out of here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have all the information I need. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wants to comment?
Amy Trost, 814 West Farms Road, Howell. I have a couple of questions. Number one, in what I see on what they're planning for that corner lot, it also includes, from what I've read, a pool and a clubhouse. If it's affordable housing, many of us in Howell can't afford a pool, so why should they? That's number one. Number two, I understand from what I've read, they're talking about Sandy funds, and nobody has brought that up. Can you explain how they can use Sandy funds towards this property?
That's a question for the attorney, Mr. Baer.
Yeah, HMFA, after Sandy, had a program to encourage building of housing to replace housing lost through Sandy in Monmouth and Ocean counties. And they created this fund. And if you had a project during that time period that was affordable housing in Monmouth or Ocean County, you met all the other criteria, the state awarded financing to these developers.
So then
Because-
shouldn't those
because-
people that were affected by Sandy have the
They do
right
have.
of first refusal on any of this property?
You would expect that.
And that the owner of this property, the rabbi, should not have a
It's not-
say in who
The
has.
rabbi's,
He's
the
no
rabbi's
say.
not the developer. The
He
Walter,
owns that property.
he's selling it,
under
he's
its
selling it to
That
the,
has not been made public knowledge.
Yes.
yes, it is, because
Yes,
the
it
Wal,
has been, many
because the,
times.
because the
Where?
Wal,
I have not read it in the
the
paper.
Walters Group made the application to the planning board for the approval, not the rabbi.
Right, for the approval?
Yeah, 'cause
But
they're-
they don't own the property
They're-
right
they-
now.
Because they
So
bought it,
how can they make
because if
it-
you're a contract purchaser of a piece
It's
of
not
property, well, it's
A
not done, you know,
contract can be
This is why it's not
null and void until the date it's done.
well, then it wouldn't be developed.
Then
Then
they
it wouldn't be
wouldn't have the-
developed.
Then
It
they
won't be
wouldn't.
developed.
We'd like that.
The rabbi would have no access to the Sandy money, so you know. We would have no access to the finance.
Just so we know. The other
Oh.
thing is, I respectfully request that this vote is held up until the numbers are given to the township. That we just requested. And that no vote be held tonight until we have those
And
numbers
if we
in
did
our hands.
that, everything on that piece of paper would be shoved down our throats. I've seen it before.
I'm not having it shut down your throat. I'm not having it shut down mine.
You will.
Because you don't have
You
the
will.
When
I've
is
seen
the
it
court
twice
date?
in 30 years.
I'm not here to debate with you one-on-one. That's not why I'm standing here. I'm here to voice my
Then you
opinion
don't wanna
as
hear
I
the
am
truth.
allowed by Howell.
That's
And I
right,
have
but
Then
you
address
don't
the
wanna
mayor.
hear the truth.
respectfully, Mayor, I respectfully request that your vote on this issue be held until we have the numbers and they have been given to the population of Howell Township, the ones that were just requested. Prove to us that these 72 units, number one, are worth our while to have 30 years of payment in lieu of taxes, which nobody can explain because it's too complicated for us to understand. And number two, when we know what the woman that was up here before me has questioned and we have those answers, please hold this vote until the next meeting, when we have a right to review that information. Thank you.
Someone else wanted to.
How dare she come at me one-on-one? I'm not there to debate with her.
Please, I would expect some respect from the,
So would we.
go ahead.
Hi, I'm Barbara Barbado, 21 Woodland Drive in Howell. Question for you. When Mr. Walsh mentioned about the developments that would include Mount Laurel housing,
That were proposed to us, the answer is yes.
so it would be people are profiting from their other buildings, but a certain number are designated Mount Laurel.
Affordable, yes.
Okay, are affordable. And then, this might be a wives'
It's
tale.
okay.
Wives' tale. At some point, do the Mount Laurel housing, especially in a development where there's regular ownership, do they lose that Mount Laurel status at some point, or could they?
I believe most times that answer is no. Like, I know there's affordable units in Strickland Farms. I'm gonna give you an example. Like, you wouldn't think of Strickland Farms. What?
All these properties, the affordable.
All of them?
Well, depending when they were built.
Yes.
So it would change, but now the requirement is that those units be deed restricted, so recorded for at least 30 years. That's what it requires. And then typically, what the law says is that after 30 years, if it's a for sale unit, and the municipality and the homeowner the affordable unit owner wants to sell the unit, that they can't profit off of it. The town has the right to buy the unit at the maximum restricted price. So that's what the law provides.
There's restricted prices. I own a mortgage company. I'll just give you an example. Strickland Farms, I just did a mortgage for someone who's only allowed to sell the unit for the cost of living index increase over what they paid for it over the number of years. So, when they purchased that property years ago, it was for like $75,000. They were able to sell it, I believe, for like 142, even though the regular units were worth 270, 280. Okay? So there's different laws that come into play. You know, where they fall exactly, I don't know.
Well, two questions come from that. One is it still considered affordable housing so that it can be credited to our numbers?
You only get a credit once.
Yeah, we only get a credit once.
We lose that then, too,
No.
if they were?
No.
You don't lose
Never
it.
lose it.
Okay. Think this through. Second question.
You can extend the controls.
Maybe.
Is there okay, so like anybody we're losing now, will say, like, I think when Verdona went in, there was some affordable housing in there?
64 affordable units are in Verdana.
And that was a 10-year, I thought, at that time.
No,
30-year.
I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely not a
So we
10.
don't lose any credits when
No,
that happens? Okay. And then I guess my only concern is, yes, I hear what you're saying, that we have to get those units. But the number two is for the people who are doing the housing, it's always their self-interest. And I hope that whoever develops those programs, there's never enough parking spaces. There's, it's overdeveloped, so.
But that's more by law now, when they go in front of the planning board. What our major concern is, we don't get the one development after the next jammed on us by judges. That's what will happen if we don't come up with an affordable housing program that is approved down in Trenton. I'm serious. The one right by Squawcum and 195 there, at exit, what is that, 32 on,
Yes, that's
right there?
horrendous.
You can't fit
It's
a
horrendous.
fire truck in there if there's a fire.
And that's
And that was
what I
approved
think
by
that-
a judge. A judge deemed it to be approved that way. And you cannot fit a fire truck in there if there's a fire.
A judge from Howell
No,
approved that?
a judge in the state of New Jersey.
Because we were in violation of
We
something?
didn't
that
have our
had to-
affordable housing numbers. We lost the builder's remedy lawsuit. Okay, you lose builder's remedy lawsuit, that's it. All bets are off. The judge gets the final say, and that's what happens.
And I guess in good faith, we hear you because we have to have those units. But at the same time, just as an example of where it's not developed to the benefit of the residents of Howell. And that's where the balance has to come. Okay, not a fear tactic like you're doing right now, hopefully, but, okay. I just want to make sure that they, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bart, 3 Grindstone Road in Howell. Question is, when is the numbers due? When are we getting the numbers from the state?
Well, these are numbers through right now we have a couple of different numbers. We have the Fair Share Housing Center's number through their expert report of 1,360 units. We have the court's master's preliminary affordable housing obligation number of 680 units. So those are numbers that have been out there a while. The ultimate determination will come from the court probably later this year.
Okay, later this year.
Yep.
And why can't we wait till we get that number?
Because the number is going to be somewhere between 700 and 1,000.
Unless you're God, you don't know that.
Well, I know what's pending. Since I'm involved in the litigation.
You're making up this all hypothetical. Why can't we, the last meeting that we had at the middle school north,
Yep.
from you, the board, was said, these are nothing other than proposals. Until the numbers come down, nothing's going to be finalized. We're here to vote. You're a liar, you're a liar, you're a liar.
Hold on, don't call me a liar, I wasn't
I'm
there.
sorry.
So don't say I said anything like that. I wasn't there in middle school north.
Well, you're part of the board, you knew about it.
So,
Yeah, don't call me a liar, okay?
Oh, don't get offended.
Listen,
You know what?
excuse me. That was inappropriate.
Okay, well, what you're doing is inappropriate too.
What I'm doing?
Sir,
I
do you have
believe-
anything else to say relative to the
I
ordinance?
asked you, why can't we wait? Why can we not
They've
wait?
explained, the board has explained, the council's explained to you why they're not waiting with this particular project.
Why?
So we're talking about one particular project, because they believe that it's in the
That's
best
right next to
interest
my
of
house.
Howell.
I'd like to know why.
They've already indicated that they believe it's in the best interest of Howell to make this decision now.
On those 5, 6 people are gonna decide that for the whole town of Howell?
That's how it's done.
Oh, really? So we don't count?
It's not that you don't
Why
count.
do we have meetings?
I think at this point, I want to close the public session.
Whatever, you guys are unbelievable. It's like a criminal, unbelievable.
Thank you.
Make a motion that ordinance number 0-17-13 be finally passed and adopted. A note of its passage and adoption be published in the 7/21/17 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
No. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 0-17-13, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/13/17, and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of the publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/17/17 is submitted, and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request. I would like to open this for public
I'm
discussion.
just going to read into the record the title, Mayor.
sorry.
An ordinance, title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 3, Section 188-11, entitled Accessory Buildings of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I'd like to open this for public discussion. Seeing no discussion, I would like to close it and vote.
A motion that ordinance number 01713 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption will be published in the July 21st, 2017 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. I'm sorry. Sorry. Ordinance number 0-17-14, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/13/17 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press, issue of 6/17/17, is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance? An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 1, Schedule 1, permitted uses, non-residential zones of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell.
Anybody want to speak?
I open this up to public portion, public discussion. That's the next one.
Jerry? Check, Jack.
You closing?
Is there any discussion? I would like to close the public portion for vote.
Motion that ordinance number 0-17-14 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 7/21/2017 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
McKenna, on the next ordinance, there was some calculations, I believe, that were wrong. Are we just not voting? Are we, being that it was, what's the pollen?
You're going to vote no, and then it will be reintroduced at a later date. We're going to work with Jim Herman to
Recalculate.
Fix the calculations.
fix some of the
Okay.
conditions that are in there.
Ordinance number 0-17-15, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/13/17 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press, issue of 6/17/17, is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies are available to the general public upon request. I'd like to open this up for discussion.
Well, what are we
No,
doing?
no,
Do we
you're-
wanna
no, you
read
didn't
it?
Well,
vote.
I'm-
Barbara,
Okay,
we
okay.
voted
We're
down.
going to vote this down, Barbara.
I'd like to know why the reasons for the pools and cabanas on the property.
What, somebody want a cabana or a pool?
Oh, I just asked.
Okay.
So do you want to read the motion as is and then just vote no? Or do you want, okay. Motion that ordinance number 0-17-15 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 7/21/17 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
No.
Mrs. Smith?
No.
Mr. Walsh?
Nah.
Mr. Nacastro?
No.
Mayor Berger?
No. Ordinance number 0-17-16, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/13/17 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of this publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press, issue of 6/17/17, is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request. I'd like to open this for public discussion.
I'm going to read the title of the ordinance
Sorry.
first. Title is an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 1, Schedule 3, Schedule of Bulk and Dimensional Requirements, Residential Zones of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I would now like to open for public discussion. See there being none, I will close that portion for vote.
A motion that ordinance number 01716 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the July 21st, 2017 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Ordinance number 0-17-17, introduced and passed on the first reading on 6/13/17 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press, issue of 6/17/17, is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted in the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies are available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188-78.2 entitled Highway Development 3, HD3, Zone of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I'd like to open this up for public discussion.
Jerry, do your job, Jerry.
I know, take her home, I know.
Jerry, do your job, Rob.
Take her home. You've had enough, I know. Barbara Dixell, The Villages. I would like to ask if the things that are listed in this ordinance are for throughout the Township of Howell.
If it's only in the HD3 zone,
But it's various places in Howell.
Wherever HD3 is.
Okay. It's just not that one development, it's throughout Howell. Wherever
HD33, which is mostly on Route 33.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? I will close the public portion for a vote.
Motion that ordinance number 01717 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the July 21st, 2017 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Ordinance number 0-17-18, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/13/17 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/17/17 is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 1, Section 188-77, Highway Development 1 Zone, HD1, of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I'd like to open up to public discussion. There being none, I close public portion for a vote.
Motion that ordinance number O-17-18 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 7/21/17 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second?
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Ordinance number 0-17-19, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/13/17 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/17/17 is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 1, Section 188-75, Neighborhood Commercial Zone, NC, of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I'd like to open for public discussion. There being none, I will close the public portion for a vote.
Motion that ordinance number 01719 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the July 21st, 2017 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Ordinance number 0-17-20, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/13/17 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/17/17 is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies are available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 1, Section 188-76, Highway Commercial Zone, HC, of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I'd like to open for public discussion. There being none, I close the public portion for a vote.
Motion that ordinance number O-17-20 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 7/21/17 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second?
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Ordinance number 0-17-21, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/13/17 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/17/17 is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188-79 entitled Special Economic Development of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
Remember, we introduced this without, after removing indoor recreation.
Open it.
I'd like to open for public discussion.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Brendan Judge. I'm with the law firm of Connell Foley. We represent George Harms Construction Company, which is at 62 Yellowbrook Road. George Harms purchased his property on Yellowbrook Road in the early 1980s. Since then, it is engaged in a variety of uses that some could deem to be manufacturing of asphalt and concrete products. I wrote a letter to the council dated July 10th, objecting to the ordinance to the extent that it applies to the SED zone along Yellowbrook Road. The reason is the proposed ordinance directly contradicts the 2006 land use plan element that recognized that many of the uses, the concrete manufacturing and other manufacturing uses were going on within that zone, and emphasized that the township did not want to harm those engaging in those uses, and it proposed making it a special SED2 zone. Now, I understand that the master plan is under review, and I also understand the sentiment in this room, but I submit that there's no reason to abandon the desire not to negatively impact those who are currently engaged in those uses by rendering them non-conforming. George Harms objects to this proposed ordinance to the extent that it applies to the SED zone along Yellowbrook Road. George Harms would have no objection to the extent that that SED zone were excluded from the proposed ordinance. So I would request that either the council vote no, or that it be revised to exclude that zone. Thank you.
To exclude that street from,
To exclude the SED zone along Yellowbrook Road from the proposed ordinance.
Any further discussion? I'm sorry.
Mr. Herman, I think I asked one time, was there ever an approval from, are you aware that Harms had an approval for asphalt and concrete?
I believe they had an approval and then they amended the approval, so I don't know if they have a current valid approval to manufacture asphalt and concrete. I would have to look into it further, as this just came in the other day, and I haven't had a chance to really review it.
Please.
Hi, my name's Marcus Sculthorpe, and I'm from 36 Vanderveer Road. And I wanted to oppose this because it's going to hurt local jobs in our economy and the established businesses that are here and the potential businesses that it could bring in an area that that's already has this type of business. And as for the truck traffic that it could add to, or that they say it could be adding to, we're in a. I'm sorry, I'm not.
Okay, sorry. No worries.
okay? You're doing good.
I don't see how much more truck traffic we could be it's going to be impacting to an area that already has significant truck traffic as it is. I mean, and if that was a problem, then maybe it shouldn't be zoned that way I mean, maybe it's a zoning issue more than, that's,
We're not stopping you from doing what you're doing, is that correct?
That's correct.
We're not stopping you from doing what you're doing, yeah?
okay.
So,
Well, I mean, and just for the future, this is gonna impact what businesses that are established here can do in the future though, right? Like they would
Yes.
have to get variances
Yes.
and, I mean, that's.
to make changes, yes.
Yeah, to upgrade facilities. To upgrade outdated facilities to more modern, more efficient, you know, so, that's, I mean, that's, I just wanted to point that out. That if, you know, you do something like this and you're putting these businesses here, you know, you're freezing them where they are. To not update and not move to the future with, you know, better technology, it's gonna make this more efficient and less of an impact on the town and on the environment.
Just so you know, they can do that, they just will have to go before another board. In many towns throughout New Jersey, governing bodies see the future from things in the past that sometimes don't work for the town. In this case, the master plan committee and the master plan have looked at this particular use, saw how many we had, and said they recommend that we have enough. Now, I own a business that's a pre-existing non-conforming use. I understand better than anyone because every time I want to do something, I have to go before the zoning board. But that's what happens as you grow in a community. You start to see, you know, you heard people complaining about trucks and roads. You know, that may have not been envisioned at that time. And after we, you know, go through time, we see sometimes the negative impacts or what's coming surrounding the community. So I understand it does create a hardship. This was a recommendation from the planning board based on things or problems that we've seen in the past that we're trying to correct. And again, the facilities can operate, they could upgrade, they are pre-existing, they're just non-conforming anymore. We'll have to go before another board, but it does not stop anything that's here today. It's the future.
Okay,
Thanks for coming up.
Thank you.
thank you.
If you thought that guy was nervous, I haven't seen anything. Hi, I'm Diane Wisely. I live at 432 Winterberry Court in Howell. And I wanted to encourage you to continue the ban, to vote for the ban. Because we already have apparently in Howell, 3 Superfund sites, which I was surprised to find out about. No, it's not directly related to this, but we already have, as I said, 3 Superfund sites that are still in the process of being cleaned up from the time they were recognized back in 1983. And we also have one in Freehold and a couple in Howell Township. Now, that's just pollution in general, but I read a few articles online, one in the New York Times and another from the Winchester Informer, apparently in Connecticut. And they describe how trace levels of polynuclear aromatic hydrocarbons in asphalt fumes make it a potential environmental threat, particularly for delicate ecosystems. Even though the effects of decomposing asphalt within the aquatic habitats remains inconclusive, its toxins and carcinogens may eventually leak into rivers, streams, and other water sources. These polynuclear aromatic hydrocarbons have been found in some water pipes, and one of the most common human exposures to asphalt is by inhalation. Throat and eye irritation, skin rash, fatigue, headache, and cough are some of the acute or immediate effects of breathing in asphalt fumes. Chronic exposure of inhaled asphalt fumes may lead to lung or stomach cancer, and prolonged exposure of fumes to the skin may cause pigment change, made more noticeable by exposure to sunlight. Research conducted by the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health shows that products containing asphalt are carcinogenic to laboratory animals. The organization therefore urges humans to limit their exposure to asphalt. Of course, there are safety hazards. Asphalt can be highly flammable and lead to explosions or fires, especially when hot. National parks have been documented to contain high concentrations of PAHs in the air following asphalt paved roads being burned by fires. And finally, asphalt plant pollution. An EPA assessment on hot mix asphalt facilities reveals that these plants emit 770 to 2,000 hazardous air pollutants each year. They're also called toxic air pollutants or air toxics, and they include that those hydrocarbons mentioned earlier. Okay, and just one other thing. According to the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, exposure to asphalt fumes can cause headaches, skin rashes, fatigue, reduced appetite, throat and eye irritation, and coughing. These plants release millions of pounds of chemicals to the air during production in each year, including many cancer-causing toxic air pollutants such as arsenic, benzene, formaldehyde, and cadmium. Other toxic chemicals are released into the air as asphalt is loaded into trucks and hauled from the plant site, including volatile organic compounds, those hydrocarbons mentioned earlier, and very fine condensed particulates. And just a little more, if you're still awake. Asphalt fumes are known toxins. Asphalt processing and asphalt roof manufacturing facilities are major sources of hazardous air pollutants, including formaldehyde, hexane, phenol, polycyclic organic matter, and toluene. This is all according to the EPA. Exposure to these air toxins may cause cancer, central nervous system problems, liver damage, respiratory problems, and skin irritation. According to the New Jersey Department of Health and Social Services, according to this agency, asphalt fumes contain substances known to cause cancer, coughing, wheezing, shortness of breath, severe irritation of the skin, headaches, dizziness, and nausea. So it's a veritable list of things that are really bad for the environment, bad for people. And animal studies show that those hydrocarbons affect reproduction, cause birth defects, and are harmful to the immune system. So with that, thanks for listening. I appreciate it, and I do hope that you will, I encourage you to vote, for the further ban of these asphalt producing facilities in Howell. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to call for a 5-minute.
No, let's finish.
You want to finish this? Okay. Is there anybody else that wants to come up to speak? There being none, I close the public portion for a vote.
Motion that ordinance number O-17-21 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 7/21/17 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. At this time, I would take a 5-minute break.
What's going on, kid?
Not much, babe.
I'm tired. You got me till 11. I'm leaving at 11.
What time is it?
We're not gonna be here at 11.
10:19.
It depends. We still got 3 more ordinances and then 6 to introduce.
Sure.
I'm out the door at 11. I had to go south in the morning.
So, have you seen our map that's going on? Okay, so this is our website. So if you go on our website, they scroll down to the bottom, they call like this news or something called, or title called, potential affordable housing. A version 2, this is version 2. And
I'm back on the cover.
I'm not
zoom in, you
George.
can see everything real zoom in. But essentially, we show every site in town and where they are, okay? And then we also, down here, which you can't
So,
read,
Tommy,
you'll actually get all the details about how many units they're proposing, are they rentals, are they townhomes, are they apartments? So that's where you have to look. So on the website, you say, if you have any trouble, give me a call, I'll show you where.
Ordinances to introduce.
This is the developers that have approached us, so everybody that's on here, right?
so what are we gonna do? We're gonna say?
Property.
What?
We don't know cake for her.
And said, hey, I want to to sell, they've gone and said, hey, we want to sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want to build a
Where's Andy?
They then take that and they come to us and say, we're under contract, you know, to build a certain.
What?
Here's our.
Who did?
If you use internet
Bear.
explorer,
Red eye.
click number, and it'll show you the concept, you bring up the concept, so you can see everything. So you'll see exactly what we're talking about. When you like click on entertainment, you'll see that they're putting some cars.
Billable hours, baby. That's what you're going back to, ain't you? Billable hours.
So you'll see that right there, and then on the bottom is the description of exactly what they're doing.
At the new marina, at Belmont, I know some kids making 1,100 to 1,300 a week waiting tables.
As a sign of good faith.
It's that packed.
The good faith, you only have a
Correct,
temporary
we've already doing
agreement.
that. That's part of our standard negotiations we do every time. So you'll see there's actually been revisions down here, you can't see here, it's in red, but you'll see that you guys were pulling this up and said, hey, look, we saw the map, we know that
Yeah, I know that.
our stuff's not good anymore. So instead of
They
17%,
know that too, they just don't wanna.
that means meaning the number of units that
And
are
this
affordable.
deal is going to.
So now you get 24% affordable units
know.
rather than 17% affordable, because they know, they want to be picked.
No,
They
he
wanna
went
make
to
money,
the
right?
restaurant.
So we're only gonna pick the ones that benefit the town to the
I
best. of their
envy him.
ability. So that's what we're trying to figure out is, if that guy has 17% forward, now it's gonna be 24, maybe he's better than the guy that still wants only 15. We're trying to get the most bang for our buck. Correct. What are the sewers, what is the traffic, what's the.
It is, that's what I said, that's what I said to Rob, things I learned when I was 12.
Projects that are happening eventually. We have to make a decision. And that's what everyone fails to understand, like, the numbers aren't going away, no matter what everybody yells and stomps their feet about out here. This is the Supreme Court.
I'm keeping that there for years because
It's not going
not
away.
living up to that.
So, what would you rather do? We run the risk by waiting, right? That maybe we don't get a plan figured out. Maybe we don't have a number done. And the court system says, oh, guess what? We have another. I mean, we literally got an intervener who sent us a notice of intervention in the court system, which is an official document, as we sat here at this meeting.
No, I got 3 minutes of time to chill.
Yep.
No. Nope. Well, there's 72 units in the Quest Room right
Missing
now.
something,
that are
I
not
folded
filled.
it in half and it's
They can't
gone.
fill. Well, that's on the affordable rate, so if they can't afford it at the affordable rate, I don't know what's happening, because the affordable rate is percentage of the median income, right? So if you're on a fixed income, say Social Security, right? Say you get $30,000 a year in Social Security, you qualify for low income as one person.
I'm looking for
Then they make too
the
much money.
sheet, the large sheet with the list on it of, the updated list is folded in half.
Yes. No, nobody's proposed. The last one that was proposed was the one up on Burgerville. Or no, what's above Burgerville? Strickland. There's that,
Here it is.
whatever that, your Presbyterian home, coming down, there's that big building on the right-hand side. There's that development right there, that's the same thing. It's like affordable units in the care, yes, yes. That's already there, no one's proposing it.
That's why I stayed in the chair. It's been longer than 5 minutes.
Of course they are. That's where COA comes from. COA is being sponsored. Buildings, that's just not fair share. Make any mistake. They're not here to solve affordable housing. They're here to make money. No, but there's nothing to push back against. That's the problem. You can't do it. You have to think of the right thing. Correct. 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 I don't disagree with you. But see, there are certain rules. So, like, this only applies to housing after 19, right? That's what the code means. So let's take the village. They don't follow. They were built before that, right? So even though there's probably more of a range of value
Rob. Rob, get your butt over here. Hey, get back. Man never listens to me.
Which one we on?
We are on 1722. I would like to call the meeting back to order, please.
Tell Jim Herman to sit down. Say, Jim, sit down.
Well, I was gonna bring that.
Mr.
Bang
Herman,
him, baby.
Mr. Herman, please. You're disrupting the meeting.
Herman, down.
Okay. Ordinance number 0-17-22, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/13/17 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/17/17 is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188-73.5 entitled Planned Mixed Use District of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I'd like to open for public comment. There being none, I'd like to close for a vote.
Motion that ordinance number 01722 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the July 21st, 2017 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Ordinance number 0-1723, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/13/17, and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of the ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/17/17 is submitted, and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 1, Section 188-78, Highway Development 2 Zone, HD2, of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I'd like to open for public comment. There being none, I'd like to close and vote.
Motion that ordinance number 01723 be finally passed and adopted, and that the notice of its passage and adoption be published in the July 21st, 2017 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Ordinance number 17-24, introduced and passed on first reading on 6/13/17 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 6/17/17 is submitted, and it is noted that the copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 1, Section 188-4, entitled Definitions and Rules of General Applicability of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
I'd like to open this for public discussion. There being none, I'd like to close and take a vote.
Motion that ordinance number O-24-11 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 7/21/2017 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. There are introduction of ordinances now. I would like someone to make a motion for the ordinance.
A motion?
A motion to introduce ordinance number 0-17-25 and first reading by title in order the same to be published in the 7/21/17 issue of the Asbury Park Press, and a notice of its introduction and passage of reading on first by title. That'll be further considered for final passage of the public hearing in a meeting of the Township Council will be held on 8/15/17, 7:30 p.m. Prevailing time, municipal building.
Second.
Title of ordinance, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements appropriating $8,150,000, therefore and authorizing the issuance of $7,600,000 bonds and notes to finance a portion of the course thereof, authorized in and by the Township of Howell in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Would someone please introduce 0-17-26?
Motion to introduce ordinance number 01726 on first reading by title, and to order the same to be published in the July 21st, 2017 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage, first by reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on August 15th, 2017, at 7:30 PM at the prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Title of ordinance, capital ordinance providing for the rehabilitation of inflow and infiltration pipes, manhole laterals, and the Woodburn Pump Station, and appropriating $200,000, therefore authorized in and by the Township of Howell in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Someone please introduce 0-17-27?
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-17-27 on first reading by title, and to order the same to be published in the 7/21/17 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after a public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on August 15, 2017, at 7:30 PM prevailing time in this municipal building.
Second.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 2-36 entitled Police Department of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Please introduce 17-28?
Motion to introduce ordinance number 01728 on first reading by title, and to order the same to be published in the July 21st, 2017 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on the first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage
It's
after
all
public...
over.
Continue.
It's perfect.
Public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on August 15th, 2017, 7:30 prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188-226 entitled Commercial Parking of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Is there any unfinished business? Any information that needs to be passed?
I don't know if I'll be here for the 15th. I'm letting you know ahead of time, August 15th.
We're going to need notice.
Thank you.
Just letting you know.
The next regular meeting is on Tuesday, August 15th, executive session at 6:30, regular session at 7:30. I would like to adjourn the meeting at
Motion to adjourn.
10:34.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
No, I want to hang around.
Okay, Mr. Nacastro?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.